Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are on book 10. Book 10 of The House of Night. I think this might be, even though it's taken, 3 years to get here, I think this might be the, not consistent, that's not the word that I'm looking for. I've kept coming back to it. Yes, it's taken its time, but I feel like that should count for something. Do you know how easy it is for me to just get bored of something, move on to the next new thing all the time, every day? And yet, here we are. We are on book 10 of The House of Night. So without much preamble, shall we just get into it? Remember to like, comment and subscribe because it really helps the channel when you do that. And follow me on Instagram, TikTok. I also have a second channel, a slop channel. So should we just get into it? Let's just get into it. Chapter 1. Lenobia. Yes, the horse lady gets a POV. And not the kind that would be vaguely interesting. She's dreaming about being young, traveling to America, and she's in love with some dude called Martin who died. Also, he's Creole, so racism gets in the way of their love story. What's wrong with my voice? I think I'm a little bit ill from the heat we've been having. I can't really tell. So yes, racism gets in the way of their love story. Can't wait for this to be handled sensitively. Atticus Finch himself wouldn't touch this with a barge pole. So Martin dies in a fire in New Orleans. As Martin captured the evil human who had tried to enslave her, then walked back into the flaming stables with him, saving Lenobia's life, the horse mistress was finally able to wake herself with a wrenching sob. Why does he walk back into the fire? This didn't get cleared up. Why did he walk into the fire? She wakes up and she thinks that the Texan horseman bloke called Travis is actually the reincarnated spirit of this Creolian man from 200 years prior. Sure, Travis might not be Martin reincarnated. I know my reaction to him is unusually strong, but it has been a long time since I've taken a lover. You have never taken a human lover. You vowed not to. Her conscience reminded her. So it's simply past time I took a vampire lover, even if briefly. And that type of distraction will be good for me. This seems messy and high schoolish and exactly what a 200-year-old vampire would do. Also, does her name sound eerily similar to labia to anyone else? Is that intentional or just funny? This video is sponsored by Scentbird. Ever wondered what scent pairs best with a deep dive into internet drama or a heated podcast debate? Lately, I've been exploring fragrances that match my mood. And trust me, it's been an olfactory adventure. This month, I've been trying Commodity Juice and Blue Talisman. Commodity Juice has notes of raspberry and strawberry, whereas Blue Talisman has notes of pear and orange blossom. Even more interesting when they're mixed together. Quick tip, apply your fragrance to pulse points such as the wrists or the neck. The warmth helps the scent evolve throughout the day, making it uniquely yours. If you're curious to explore new scents without committing to a full-size bottle, that's where a service like Scentbird comes in handy. They offer a monthly subscription that helps you explore over 900 authentic designer and niche fragrances. Each month you'll receive an 8mm vial, roughly giving you 120 sprays. About 115 now. But plenty to test how a scent works for you in any situation. Use my code Alizee55 for 55% off your first order. Or scan the QR code on the screen. That's about $8 to start your fragrance adventure. And next month it'll be roughly $16.95. Again, that's code Alizee55 for 55% off your first Scentbird order. Discover scents that resonate with you and add a touch of flair to your daily routine. Thank you, Scentbird, for sponsoring today's video. But what if Travis could really hold Martin's soul? Lenobia's errant mind whispered enticingly. He gave his word that he would find me again. Perhaps he has. Reuse and recycle, my queen. Imagine not being able to escape men even after they die. Vampire or not, at her core, she would eternally be a girl who loved mornings and horses and a tall, cappuccino-skinned human who had died long ago. Yeah, no person of colour is safe from being likened to a Starbucks beverage. Also, not putting a hyphen between cappuccino and skinned makes it sound like she likes a skinned human. Her shoulders slumped. She hadn't thought of Martin so often in decades. His renewed memory was a double-edged sword. On one side, she recalled loving his smile, his scent, his touch. On the other, his memory also evoked the void his absence had left. For more than 200 years, Lenobia had grieved for a lost possibility, a wasted life. 200 years? You need to go over it, mate. Also, smile, scent, and touch, the three easiest to reach for descriptors for a lazy writer who doesn't want to think of something unique about this profound relationship. Anyway, all this fretting is making her horse nervous because they are soul bonded or whatever, so she mentally cheers herself up by mentally petting said horse. It is, in fact, me who is going mental. She goes back to sleep. Neferet. No students were about. Dragon Langford himself was also absent, but probably only temporarily. She had seen only a few red fledglings on her way there. Neferet smiled, satisfied at the thought of how she added the rogue reds to the House of Night. What lovely, chaotic possibilities they presented, especially after she ensured Zoe's circle would be broken and her best friend Stevie Ray would be devastated, grieving the loss of her lover. She spends far too much time fretting about some teenagers to actually take over the world. It would be like if Donald Trump was obsessed with some kids at Harvard instead of doing, I don't know, his job of world domination. I mean, he did do something like that in real life the other week, didn't he? Maybe it's more realistic than I thought. The knowledge that she was assuring future pain and suffering for Zoe pleased Neferet immeasurably. Her pettiness makes her the superior character. Nobody on earth could care about Zoe or anything she says or thinks, but Neferet fixing to ruin her day never fails. So Neferet beckons Shadowfax over, which I forgot whose cat this was. I thought it was the twins, but no, it's Dragon's cat. First she kills his wife, now she kills his cat. She sacrifices the cat to darkness. I can't really get behind killing cats, Neferet, so minus 100 points from whichever Neferet's house is or whatever. The cat died faster than she'd imagined, and for that Neferet was glad. She hadn't expected him to stare at her, but the warrior cat held her gaze, even after he had collapsed into the sandy field house floor and could no longer fight her, but lay breathing shallowly. Shallowly, whatever. Twitching silently and staring. Damn, she's getting judged by a cat now. Actually, that's not really new. All cats are judgmental. So she sacrificed the cat to make Aurox obey her to kill Refame, and then the darkness spirals away, but one strand is clumsy and knocks over a lamp at the stables, so a fire starts. Neferet turned away from the stable, closing the thick door between it and the field house securely. It seems likely that Stevie Ray may not be the only one who will be grieving after tonight. The thought satisfied Neferet, and she left the field house and the carnage she'd caused there, not seeing the small white cat who padded to Shadowfax's motionless body, curled behind him and closed her eyes. I went from, oh, she's insane, I love her, to, oh, those poor kittens, so quickly. Lenobia. She shits a brick at the stables being on fire naturally, and Travis is already rescuing the horses, and Lenobia gets her shit together and flies into action. It would be easier to rescue the horses if there weren't three cousins having incestuous sex in the stables whilst Penelope Douglas watches. Chapter 2, Lenobia. I was looking to see how many chapters I'll be in hell for, and I noticed a chapter at the end saying present day Oklahoma. So if that means there is some bullshit time traveling element, let me tell you, I am all in. Spoiler alert. There isn't. So Lenobia races to help the horses escape and to find Travis. All is well, Diva. Lenobia calmed the horse. Hilarious, the horse is called Diva because it sounds just like Lenobia as being Gen Z. A red fledgling is helping them. Nicole? I couldn't remember if she was good or bad, and by God, I refuse to rewatch any videos on this topic. So Nicole was one of Dallas's fledglings, so she's evil. How many homeless people did she eat and kill? And am I expecting the series to give a shit? Lenobia opened her heart, her soul, and her goddess-given gift and cried, "Come, my beautiful daughters and sons, follow my voice and my love and live." Kind of cringe, bro. The horses are about to be barbecued. Quit your yapping. The horses are only about to be good for being used in lasagnas and subsequently causing the great horse meat scandal of 2013 in the UK. All the horses are saved. Hurrah! But then Travis is missing too. Boo. Mujaji, the horse nickered and trotted towards her. Lenobia put up a hand, halting her. "Be calm, sweet one. Watch over the rest of my children. Lend them your strength and serenity, as well as my love," Lenobia said. Yeah, Travis could literally be burning stuff right now, but she has to waste time with these empty platitudes. The overemphasis on love in the later books is such a weird choice, and it's not present in the first few books, if I remember correctly. It's so weird, especially for a series that is so judgmental and hateful. Like, They keep yapping so much. Remember, okay, the barn is on fire. I'm going to go back and reread the sentences that they all said. So the barn was on fire and the horses were trapped in the barn. Come, my beautiful daughters and sons, follow my voice and my love and live. And then this one. Be calm, sweet one. Watch over the rest of my children. Lend them your strength and serenity as well as my love. Like, there's literally a fire going on. Who has time to say all of this? So she finds Travis in the midst of all the fire and smoke. Go back. Incredible. Again, I've asked for like the 200th time in the row, where the hell is my audible job? Where's my voiceover work? He said between hacking coughs. Like hell I will. I've watched a man burn because of me. I do not like it. He's literally on fire, right? Like his legs are on fire right now because he's trapped. And she's saying, well, who has the time? It's like, it reminds me of the time, if you'll indulge me, when I was a young warthog. It's literally like when you're looking for a recipe online and it's like, making scones reminds me of this memory that I have with my father back in 1965. She manages to shut up and drags him out of the fire. Lenobia, drink this. A goblet was thrust into her hands and the horse mistress looked up to see the two vampire healers from the House of Night infirmary, Margareta and Pimpfredo. Margareta and Pimpfredo, sorry, they sound like pizzas. No offense to anyone called Margareta and Pimpfredo, crouching beside her. Also, I've decided I'm going to go on a holiday to Greece. I've never been, right? And what? I really want to go. Duh. But I've never had the type of holiday where it's like sun and sand and like chilling. And I've never really had those types of holidays. So can anyone recommend? Because I'm thinking Santorini. I don't know. Can anyone recommend? Obviously not a party island because I don't party like that, not anymore. But can anyone recommend some nice places to go in Greece for my future vacation, please? I'm thinking Santorini. I don't know. I've seen a hotel that looks like really nice. And obviously being vegan, like I need to look at, what's the easiest accessible? This has nothing to do with anything. Sorry. I'm just telling you about my life right now. Maybe I should be a vlogger. You know what I mean? Then I can just talk like this instead. Yes, can people please suggest me places? I am leaning on Santorini at the moment. It doesn't have to be a one and done one. Maybe if I get my act together and actually put out more videos, like on a more frequent basis, I'll be able to go on holiday more, you know? Anyway, what were we doing at? Oh yeah, the pizza people. Crouching beside her, Lenobia drained the wine that was heavily laced with blood in one long swallow, instantly feeling the life energy it carried tingle through her body. You should come with us, Professor, Margareta said. You will need... Margarita. You will need more than that to completely heal. Later, Lenobia said, tossing the goblet aside. Why did she throw it on the ground? Someone's going to have to pick that goblet up and it's not going to be me. Also, I love that their medical intervention was the equivalent of a sandwich and a tin of rosé from the shop. Travis is burned up, but he will live, so Lenobia kisses him briefly and then there's this sappy nonsense. Look for happiness in horses. I'll be there, this time making sure you are safe. Good to know. My mama always said I need to keep her. That was not how do Texan people sound. I don't know, mate. Don't ask me to look things up. Hope she rests better. No, and I got me one. He sounded like his throat was full of sandpaper. Lenobia smiled. You've got one, but I think it is you who needs to learn to rest. The tips of his fingers touched her hand and he said, I believe I can now. I was just waiting to find my way home. Pfft. I know like horses are her thing, but she still talks about them too much. She also mentioned his olive eyes like 5 times already. Give it a rest, love. She then threatens the workers who aren't on a great salary. Lenobia took her touch reluctantly from Travis, wiped her eyes and said, you can have him for a little while, but I want him back. Soon. She turned her storm-cloud gaze on the white-jacketed human. Treat him well. This barn fire is small in comparison to the heat of my temper. Yes, ma'am. The EMT stammered. What a brat. God, all of this is annoying me. Calm, Mujaji. Calm. All is well now, my sweet one. Lenobia closed her eyes and concentrated on using the gift her goddess had granted her more than 200 years ago. She felt the beautiful black mare respond instantly, releasing her agitation and blowing out the last of her fear and nervousness. Then Lenobia's connection shifted to the big Percheron, who was pawing the ground fretfully, ears flicking wildly as she searched for Travis. Bonnie, he is well. You have nothing to fear. Lenobia spoke softly, echoing the waves of emotion she was transmitting to the anxious mare. Bonnie quieted almost as quickly as had Mujaji, which pleased Lenobia immensely and allowed her to spread her attention to the rest of the herd. Persephone, Anjo, Diva, Little Biscuit, Okie Dodger. She picked through the herd, sending special warmth and reassurance to individual horses. Follow Mujaji's lead. Be calm. Be strong. You are safe. The nearby throat cleared again, breaking her concentration. Irritated, Lenobia opened her eyes to see a human standing in front of her. He was dressed in a fireman's uniform, and he was watching her with raised brow, open curiosity. Are you talking to those horses? Actually, I'm doing much more than that. Take a look. She made a gesture at the herd behind him. He turned and his face registered surprised. They've calmed down a bunch. That's bizarre. Bizarre has such negative connotations. I like the word magical with a K instead. You are all annoyingly self-indulgent. A bunch of the fledglings we all know and hate, including Eric, are there too. No one knows where Neferet is. The fire captain is called Steve Alderman. Maybe he'll be important later on because he's named, maybe not. He literally never appears again after this in this book. I hope he appears in like book 11 or 12. Whatever you say, ma'am. You're in charge here. I know you vamps have your own unique physiology. He paused and added, no offense meant by that. My best friend in high school was marked and changed. I liked him then. I still like him. I'm sorry, Americans. I don't even think that's a Texan accent. I don't fucking know. I don't live there. Seeing less and less proof of the whole humans are scared of vampires and hate them thingy, because that's both this captain and that one police detective who are mates with vampires. It's giving, my best friend in high school was a vampire. Yes, ma'am. It does look like we got here in time. The field house has smoke and water damage. Right, that's it. No, I have to Google it. I have to know how off the mark I'm being. I think the structure has remained sound. It's a nice building made from good thick stone. It'll take some rebuilding, but its bones are made to last. The fireman tipped his hat to her and went off shouting orders at the nearest men. Also, like, this guy as well won't shut up. Quit yapping. Why is everyone talking so much so far? Nobody asked for your poetic opinion of old buildings, Steve. Dragon is also missing. He is going to lose his mind once he finds his dead, drained of blood cat. Oh yeah, Neferet fed the cat's blood to a magical knife. I don't know. And then I realised, oh wait, he's already dead, isn't he? I remember now, he died in the last one. Then Shaylin says she saw Neferet. Only an hour or so ago, Shaylin said. I was sitting outside the dorm, looking at the trees. She shrugged nervously and added, I used to be blind, and now that I'm not anymore, I like to look at stuff. A lot. Yeah, we remember you exposition dumping nitwit. I think the cast duo wrote Shaylin to be a bit like Luna Lovegood, but failed miserably. Also, TW. For whatever reason, I kept like bringing up Harry Potter in this script. I think because like there's all the hubbub about the new HBO show. So I think it's just been on my mind a lot. And then when you consider that like a lot of these types of like paranormal academia books were sort of written in the wake of Harry Potter and were quite inspired by them, especially ones that have like, you know, like housing systems or whatever. Did you know, who am I talking to? Did you know that a lot of Americans didn't, they thought like the housing system in Harry Potter was just a Harry Potter Hogwarts thing. They didn't realise that it's kind of a bit of a British thing. And not in all British schools, English schools. I don't know what I'm talking about. I remember in my school we had a housing system, but like they changed the genre, the subtype every year. So one year it might be like colours and the next birds. It was just a bit confusing. So I remember being in like the Kestrel house for a bit. Yeah, it's kind of like a British English thing. Anyway, yeah, so TW, I do mention Harry Potter a lot in this script, but I think I was just making direct comparisons. Shaylin says Neferet's aura looked dark. Lenobia met Cremicia's frank gaze. Can you get these fledglings? Lenobia paused and her gesture took in the random lost-looking students that were milling around the area to report to their mentors. I'm a poet. I can figure out some serious iambic pentameter. This means I can boss around a few scared, sleepy kids. Lenobia smiled at the girl. She'd liked her even before she died, and then come back as a red fledgling who had such poetic skills that she'd been named the new vampire poet laureate. We know she is. What maniac would start this 12-book series at book 10 and not know any of this? Shaylin held back though, and Lenobia noticed she shook his hand off her shoulder, not in an irritated or mean way, but in a distracted way. She watched the young red fledgling gaze skyward and sigh. Lenobia caught a sense of importance, a sense of waiting or wanting. What is it? Lenobia asked the girl, even though the last thing she should have been doing was giving attention to a distracted, strange red fledgling. Still gazing upwards, Shaylin said, Where's the rain when you need it? Huh? Eric shook his head at her. What are you talking about? Rain. I really, really wish it would rain. The girl looked from the sky to him and shrugged, appearing a little embarrassed. I swear I could smell it in the air. It would help the firemen and make double sure the fire didn't spread to the rest of the school. See? Luna Lovegood coded, but like so annoying. Shaylin is refusing to get a move on and help out and blurts out that she's staring at Nicole and tells them she needs to go to the infirmary because her aura is changing. Then Colona, Zoe et al. Appear just to be dramatic. What atrocity has been committed on the school grounds this night? The voice thundered over Lenobia. Oh, behave, Colona, bro. Literally last week you were causing this school havoc. Chapter 3, Zoe. So Thanatos has called the High Council to tell them finally that Neferet has gone loco and is the consort of darkness. I feel like they must have known this whole time on some level. I had a terrible feeling that outing Neferet would serve more to free her than force her to pay the consequences for her lies and betrayals. Hell yeah, free my girl Neferet. This is so annoying. Everything seemed so awful and so confusing, like the entire night had been the last half of a terrible slasher horror movie. The ritual, rewatching images on my mother's murder, what had happened with Dragon and Refame and Colona and Aurox. Aurox? Heath? No. Don't go there. I can't go there. Not now. Now the stables were on fire. Seriously. And now I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. What if these books aren't even that bad and it's just me making it up and it's the way I'm telling it? Oh well. Look, in for a penny, in for a pound. What does that even mean? You're all here now, so you have to listen to me. I should still make that channel the like sleep ASMR channel and just make it this stuff, but you know, redact the memes and just make everything a bit like a softer volume, shouldn't I? Because I know some of you like to sleep to my dulcet tones. I like the thought of some of you falling asleep to my voice, right? Because that means I can influence your subconscious mind at your most vulnerable. The beginnings of my cult. My best mate says he could see me as a cult leader quite easily. What do you guys think? I would use my cult leader powers for good rather than bad though. I'd just make everyone in my cult be vegan and be nice to animals. So anyway, now the stables were on fire. Seriously. At our school, horses were neighing and clustering nervously by the east wall. Lenobia looked singed and soot-covered. Eric and Shaylin and a bunch of other fledglings were standing there, shell-shocked and soggy, because of course it started to pour buckets of rain. And Nicole, as in the Nicole who was a super mean reg fledgling and Dallas's skanky, hateful girlfriend, was collapsed on a bench with a couple of human EMTs hovering around her like she was the gold-winged baby Jesus. I wanted to punch a button, turn off the scary movie, and drift to sleep safely, curled up next to Stark. Hell, I wanted to close my eyes and go back to a time where the worst stress I had was triple boyfriend stress, and that had been really, really bad. The writing is so childish for a series that insists on giving Zoe a harem every other book. Like, the delivery of my mother's murder was so flat you could skate on it. Thanatos announces to the school that Neferet killed Zoe's mum and that Neferet will be summoned to the High Council for punishment. What the hell kind of use is that? She can literally just not show up. We summoned her for punishment. And? She didn't show up. Okay. Well, I mean, what else can we do? She said no. Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't look like that worked, Eric Knight said. He was standing close to Shaylin. Now that I thought about it, it seemed Eric had been spending a lot of time standing close to Shaylin. Well, in book time, they've known each other for at least 3 days, so it's probably high time they shacked up and declared each other soulmates. Well, it would have worked, Stevie Ray said, but Dragon showed up and stopped Aurox for a while. She paused and looked back at Colona. She actually sent him a warm, sweet Stevie Ray smile before continuing. Colona is really who saved Refame. Colona saved his son. Stevie Ray, the pick-me. Ooh, Colona does one good thing for Refame, so it's okay he sexually harassed Zoe for weeks and rapes dozens of women. Sure, bad boys will be bad boys, I guess. And the names in this book, I'm so desensitized to it, but just the names. Stevie Ray, Dragon, Aurox, Colona, Refame. It's like I was talking to Algernon Snowcone about Big Gavin and Neptune, god of the sea, was there with Skishkara, Cthulhu language, and Doug. We all agreed Big Gavin, Xanthus and Nobber John ought to do one. They inform everyone Dragon died and returned to his own planet. Sorry, I forget that I write this shit. All the horses got out. Nicole spoke up suddenly. I was surprised at her tone. I mean, until then I'd only heard Nicole sneer or say something nasty. This Nicole sounded like a regular kid, one who was normal and upset by stuff like horses on fire and evil loosed on the world. But Stevie Ray, like me, knew a very different Nicole. Your precious Stevie Ray is a serial killer too. Just because she pretends to be sweet doesn't erase that fact. You can't not serial killer wash history. What the hell are you doing here, Nicole? Stevie Ray said. Isn't she from Texas? Wait, Zoe is as well. I'm not doing a Texan accent for all of them. I can barely do it. She was helping Lenobia and Travis get the horses out, Shaylin said. Yeah, I'm sure she was. Right after she set the fire, Stevie Ray said. Bitch, you cannot talk to me like that. Nicole sneered, her voice becoming way more familiar. Oh look, our tolerant group being not so tolerant after all. Only sex offenders like Colona, Stark and Refame are allowed redemption after all. Not Nicole, because she's a girl who has killed people. Like Colona, Stark, Refame and Stevie Ray. Look, just don't question it, okay? Enough. Thanatos lifted her hands and power surged, crackling through the rain and making all of us jump. Nicole, you are a reg fledgling. It is past time you gave your allegiance to the only high priestess of your kind. You will not curse at her. Is that understood? Nicole crossed her arms. Whoops. And nodded once. She didn't look sorry at all to me, and her attitude on top of everything else that had happened that night really pissed me off. I faced her and told her exactly what was on my mind. You need to get that no one's going to put up with your crap anymore. From here on, things are going to be different. For one, you'll have to get through me to hurt Zoe, Stark said. You used me to try to kill Stevie Ray once. That will never happen again, Refame spoke up. Zoe, Stevie Ray, Thanatos said sharply. To be respected as high priestesses, you must act accordingly, and so must your warriors. She tried to kill us. Both of us, Stevie Ray said. Oh well, respect is earned, not assumed, bitches. And that's not sexist. Everyone in this story is a little bitch. Remember in Neon Genesis Evangelion, where emotional young teens were given the responsibility of operating building high killing machines? That was incredible. Chef's kiss, work of art, nuanced. This is a pile of ass. Then there's some Disney-fied bullshit. Let's fight darkness and choose the light, where everyone gets a quip. And it's so, do you know, it's so Kingdom Hearts coded. But again, Kingdom Hearts, convoluted, ridiculous. I didn't even complete, was it number 3 that came out on like the recent PlayStation? Didn't even complete it because it's just like, what is going on anymore? But still, better than this. Fine, I choose Team Nicole, she said, which really means Team Selfish, Stevie Ray said. Team based, more like. Thanatos decides to leave the bickering children. Who wouldn't? So Colona snipes at her and she's all, I'm going to follow death. Cheers. Remember in the last book I said sometimes the characters say stupid, sort of out of character things just to get proven wrong a page later? Jeesh, she's so damn dramatic. Aphrodite rolled her eyes. She already said it's not a vampire, a fledgling, or a horse, so what the hell? If a gnat dies, are we all going to freak out? What is your problem? Nicole shook her head at Aphrodite. Goddess, you're always such a hag. Why don't you think instead of running your mouth? Thanatos isn't talking about bugs and shit like that. She has to be talking about a cat. That's the only other animal spirit here she'd care about. That shut Aphrodite up, creating what seemed like a giant silent vacuum while we all realised Nicole had to be right. Aphrodite is smarter than all of them combined, so this is just stupid. Also, we've even more artful foreshadowing that Erin is going to turn into an evil slut. Me too, Shawnee spoke up. Close behind her, Erin said a quick, yep. I would too, Erin said, sounding more defensive than worried. Artful, as always. Just because the cat wasn't one of yours doesn't make its death any less awful. Eric sounded way more mature than usual. Wonder who's on Team Selfish now. Heartbreaking. The worst person you know is right, except all of them are the worst person I know. Nicole didn't pause. She didn't turn around either, but her voice trailed back to us. Team Selfish is going to help Thanatos with the dead cat. Whose ever dead cat it is, because Team Selfish likes animals. They're nicer than people. The end. I know what she's talking about, Aphrodite said. I rolled my eyes at her. This is all some kind of act she's putting on. That girl cannot be trusted. Stevie Ray glared, asked Nicole. Nicole is better than Stevie Ray confirmed. Like it's hard. Also, audience members, I think I've mentioned this in a few videos, but like, I think for the book videos, maybe not for all of them, but right now it's certainly a bit easier for me if I just do it recording style like this with gameplay footage and like the, the screenshots and memes added. I don't think it takes away from the video because these are so long that I'm aware that most of you just like put them on and listen to them anyway. And I do need to look into maybe putting these on Spotify as well. Maybe try and monetize Spotify. I just keep forgetting, but it is on my list. Not to be a big baby, right now, with the kind of mini heat waves we're getting in England at the moment. And don't even start, right? Anyone in a different country, he's like, when it gets to like 60 degrees here and we're fine. Can you please just look on TikTok at the amount of Americans? In fact, I'll put some in. The Americans who come to the UK like, oh, it's not a big deal, and then get humbled because our heat is mean. It's just mean-spirited. It's not, you can't breathe. I think it's to do with like where we are on Earth, and also basically just being a big island too.
The Brits can't handle a little heat wave. Yeah, well, I live here and it's fucking hot, all right? And y'all talk a lot of shit for an entire country of crybabies who can't even handle having the central air set above 72 degrees.
By far, the biggest culture shock I've had as an Aussie living in London is this heat. Back home, you'd hear of an English heat wave and you'd just laugh because it would tell you that it's like 25 degrees. Mate, that's just a perler of a day. But now that I'm here, what the fuck?
British heat hits different.
I have determined that the British did not take over the entire world for spices. They took it over to get out of the heat.
I'm an American who lives in England, and I would like to formally apologize on behalf of my past self who made fun of all the British people and said you were all wimps for complaining about the heat. Because now that I live here and have had to endure the heat, I understand. It's very difficult, and I was ignorant.
The UK heat isn't right. I'm from the Caribbean, descended from Africa. Being in hot weather is literally in my DNA, but the UK heat feels like the devil is twerking on you, bro.
The heat is oppressive here. It hates us. No one likes English people. But basically, it would be easier right now because I can just record this at any time. I don't need like my studio light on that gets hot. I don't really want to be like filming at 2 a.m. anymore because I'm a bit older. I shouldn't be up till 4 a.m. I should have like a proper bedtime. So like this is just easier on me. Is that okay? I'm aware it's also my channel, and regardless of what people comment, I am ultimately going to do what I want, but I want to give you guys the illusion of having a little bit of like input. Just to feel connected in a parasocial way with me. No, but do you know what I mean? I hope that's not too annoying for people. I will be back on video soon, but just at the moment, it's just a bit of a... Honestly, the heat is a bit of a piss take, mate. All you can do, really, is sit in a dark room with a fan on in your pants. It sucks. We don't have AC in this country. Like, I'm so old and so English just complaining about the weather. But we don't have AC in this country. Our houses are not designed to... deal with the coldness of the winter or the heat of the summer, and with global warming exacerbating everything. It's just stupid. We don't have the correct infrastructure to deal with this. Like, there's two modes of temperature in this country. Number one is this heat is going to kill your grandma temperature, and number two is the cold freeze is going to kill your grandma temperature. Don't believe me, that is the biannual weather news cycle. I'm not even being facetious, it's really concerning. Do you know what? Maybe I might find some type of charity that can help the older people in this country, because they get, I think there were fuel allowances coming back, but it got slashed by the Tories. Or did it? Am I making things up? Let's just get on with the video. There's nothing to do with anything. Her colour's changing, Shaylin whispered. Shh, Eric said to her, touching her shoulder. She tried to kill me. Stevie Ray sounded like she was getting ready to explode. Oh, for shit's sake, who hasn't tried to kill you? Or Zoe, or me for that matter. Get over it, Aphrodite clipped. Also, Stevie Ray has killed and eaten probably dozens of homeless people, but no one cares about that because homeless people aren't people or horses. That was me being facetious. Stevie Ray then gives Colona a big hug. I see. So Colona says sorry once and all is forgiven, but she cannot give the same grace to Nicole. So Zoe, Stark and Colona, etc. follow Thanatos and Nicole until they find two dead cats. I understood what I was looking at. Shadowfax, he's dead. Sacrificed in a dark ritual, Thanatos said. And whatever, Nicole added. I felt like I was going to puke. Dragon's cat and Anastasia's cat, both of them had been killed. Thanatos reached out and gently stroked her hand down to Shadowfax's side, moving from his body to the much smaller cat that was curled up beside him. This little one did not die sacrificially. She was not part of the ritual. Grief stopped her heart and her breath. The high priestess stood and turned to Colona. You say you know whose work this is? Really? Makes me sick, though, that Shadowfax's fine name is being sullied by being included in this book. If you can hear the sounds of grass cutting and lawnmowers in the background, there is literally nothing I can do about that, mate. It is summer. This is when people cut their grass. So, shall we continue? They work out that it was Neferet's doing all along. Again. And they work out that she did the sacrifice to control Aurox, which causes everyone to go, oh, he's bad news, that Aurox guy. I couldn't tell them what I thought I'd seen in the seer stone. How could I, with Stark's arm around me, dragon newly dead, and the awfulness of the cats? But I was too raw, too tired and hurt and confused to guard my words anymore, to keep from blurting Heath's name. So instead, like a moron, I babbled, there has to be more to Aurox than that. Remember what he asked you about after class? Or you could have literally just told them. She never tells anyone anything and it always causes drama later on. She's an idiotic clown and I hate her. She defends Aurox, saying he has some sort of consciousness and isn't an empty vessel, and Thanatos believes her for little reason. You also had to have seen how freaked out he was when he was Aurox again and saw what he'd done to Dragon, I said. That doesn't change the fact that Aurox killed Dragon, Stark said. I could feel the tension coming from him and I hated that his face had turned into a hard mask. What if he only killed Dragon because of Neferet's awful sacrifice of Shadowfax, I asked, trying to get Stark to see that there might be more than one right answer. Zoe, that doesn't make Dragon any less dead, Stark said, moving his arm from around me and making a small movement away from me. Oh, screw off. You were all a bunch of murdering sex offenders who basically just said lol sosnicks and got forgiven. Go sit on a spike. The logic in this book really does switch on and off depending on which way the scene needs to go, doesn't it? But perhaps less of a threat than we firstly believed, Thanatos spoke reasonably. If Neferet must perform a sacrificial ritual, one of this extent, each time she wants to control him, she will have to choose carefully and selectively about how and when she uses him. He said it over and over that he chose a different future, I insisted. Z, that does not make Aurox a good guy, Stark said, shaking his head at me. You know, people can change, Nicole suddenly spoke up. We all blinked at her. Stark forgetting that he had to change and choose a different future after attempting to rape a girl at school. What garbage characters and plot points. Colona is like, Aurox is a weapon and Neferet is wielding him. So Zoe is like, why didn't you say anything sooner? And he goes, no one asked me. That's crap, I said, totally displacing my anger, frustration and confusion from myself and the Aurox/Heath puzzle and smacking Colona with it. A competent story wouldn't need to tell us what she's doing. But then again, editors are expensive. Then Colona and Nicole yell at Stark because he's a hypocrite, pretending he wasn't evil too, and Thanatos gets sick of all the bickering whilst Neferet has free reign to murder as she pleases. Thanatos sends the souls of the cats off to the other world to be reunited with Dragon and Anastasia. What lucky cats. Then Zoe, right, finally says what I've been thinking for 10 whole books now. The other world. My mum was there, along with Dragon, Anastasia, Jack, and if I'd been wrong about what I'd seen within Aurox, Heath was there too. I'd been there. I knew the other world existed as surely as I knew I existed. I also knew it was an amazing, magical place, even though, laughing because I know what's coming up, even though it hadn't been my time to die and stay there, the beauty of it still lingered in my mind and my soul, forming a little bubble of wonder and safety that was the complete opposite of what the real world around me had become. Would it be so bad if we lost? Exactly. The afterlife canonically exists. Canonically it is magical and it's wonderful and it just feels amazing. Why not just go there instead of being on this planet where people are just like murdering each other? Like, because it's more life than real life is, this afterlife, you know? Zoe Redbird. Death is far from the worst thing that could happen to any of us, Thanatos said. Yes, darkness seems overwhelming now, especially after all we have discovered this night, but there is love and light here too. Think of what sadness your words would bring Sylvia Redbird. Grandma Redbird is old and won't be far off joining Zoe either, so I failed to see the problem yet again. Anyway, love and light, you say? Live and laugh here too. How about other strip mall yoga teacher platitudes? How about you fight darkness with a keep calm and carry on mug? You're supposed to be centuries old and this is the best you can come up with. What an idiot. Then Zoe's suicidal ideation is over instantly. Bro, we aren't applying our world logics to this. In this world, canonically, the afterlife is a real magical place where everyone plays grab ass. Why did I write that? And plays with rainbows or whatever. Literally, what is the big deal in dying in the House of Night? There isn't one. This vampire novel has no stakes. Get it? Do you get it? I could feel Stark's eyes on me. His hands seemed stiff in mine. I looked up at him, sure that he was going to shake me or yell at me, or at the very least ask me what the hell was wrong with me. Again, instead he opened his arms and said, "Come here, Z," and he just loved me. Bloke does bare minimum instead of abuse his girlfriend, and somehow this is peak romance. Chapter 4, Aurox. Aurox is running around like an oxboy idiot thinking about light and darkness. Aurox shuddered and moaned as the change from the beast back to boy rippled through his body, leaving him barefooted and bare-chested, clothed in only ripped jeans. So he was a bull wearing jeans. Huh? I feel like that's more stupid than Jacob Black tying his jeans to his ankle. He falls asleep after all his running around and wakes up to a woman singing. It's Grandma Redbird, and she's all, "Are you here to kill me now?" Well, fair enough. And he's all, "No way," and starts crying. So she cuddles him until he feels better, and then she opens her home to him, and she gives him the name Sukanevzdina. You try and pronounce that. NVS. Sukanevzdina, which means bull. I'm so sorry for that. And they play Happy Families for a bit. Neferet commanded me here last night. Asked to disrupt the ritual. Grandma nodded. Her expression was not surprised, but contemplative. She wouldn't have wanted to be revealed as my daughter's murderer. Aurox studied her. Your daughter was murdered. You witnessed the record of it last night. Yet you are so serene and joyful today. Where do you find such peace? From within, she says. It also comes from the belief that there is more at work here than what we can see. I know that we are going for the kind of offensive, like, wise woman Native American trope, but nope, absolutely not. I still think she would be a little bit gutted knowing her daughter was brutally murdered by a vampire to be used as a blood sacrifice to darkness. Also, this dialogue is just terrible. He starts spilling stuff to her about darkness that we already know. Anyway, he then decides to leave to try and be good. He was there for like an hour maximum. The February day. You know, it was like Christmas time back in book 3. So Aurox goes back to the House of Night where everyone knows he killed Dragon. Did Nyx not give him a brain when she injected Heath's soul into him, or what? So he climbs a tree, ravens bother him, then he falls out of the tree and knocks himself out like a complete dunce. Chapter 5, Zoe. I'd fallen asleep wrapped in Stark's arms, so waking up to him shaking me while he glared and almost shouted, "Zoe, wake up, stop it, I mean it," was totally confusing. "What?" I said, around a big yawn. "I was just sleeping." He grabbed a pillow and wadded it between him, so he was propped up in bed. Behind him, whatever. He crossed his arms, shook his head, and then looked away from me. "I think you were doing a lot more than just sleeping." I wanted to strangle him. "Seriously, what is wrong with you?" I asked him. "You said his name." "Whose name?" I blinked, having a flashback to that creepy old movie Invasions of the Body Snatchers and wondering if Heath had... Nope, if Stark had turned into a pod person. Probably, he is a fucking pod person. "Heath's!" Stark scowled at me. 3 times! It woke me up, still not looking at me. He said, "What were you dreaming?" Bit of an overreaction from Stark there. Communicate normally and rationally with literally any other human being. Challenge impossible. He then looked at me. His eyes were sad. "You were calling Heath. I'm sleeping right here next to you, but you were calling for him. Heath was her boyfriend for many, many years. Leave her alone." How dare someone make a mistake whilst asleep? He kissed the top of my head and hugged me. "I know it's stupid of me to be jealous of a dead guy. It would be stupid of you to be jealous of a living guy if the person calling their name was asleep." Anyway, they have sex and fall asleep. This time he wasn't being crazy boyfriend. Have you ever tried having a normal boyfriend? She thinks about her seer stone and Heath being dead. Brown pop. I needed a serious dose of brown pop. Maybe I'd get lucky and there'll be some Count Chocula and uncurdled milk left too. Yum. Just thinking about it made me feel a little bit better. I could seriously heart me some breakfast cereal. I think this paragraph gets copied and pasted into every book. And you know what the annoying thing is? Every time I read this fucking book, I have such a craving for brown pop. I hate those words. I have such a craving for Coca-Cola. Are you kidding? I used to love Pepsi, but did you know in this country, and it's, right, so, time for the Pepsi slander. They changed regular Pepsi, so now it contains half sweeteners and half sugar. And they're doing it under the guise of, we're trying to, we want people to make healthier, more conscious decisions and lower their sugar intake. But it's because in the UK, we have a sugar tax. So they're just like cheaping out, basically. I don't, does regular Pepsi now contain sweeteners in other countries that don't have a sugar tax? Can you let me know in the comment section below? But I had a bit the other day and now it's got the sweeteners in. It just tastes off. It tastes weird. And it's so annoying. We already have Pepsi Max and Diet Pepsi if you want the zero sugar option. Why the hell are they ruining regular sugar Pepsi? Why? It now tastes like shit. Absolute shit. Never gonna buy it again. Didn't really buy it that much in the first place. Can't be arsed, mate. Just because sugar makes like some kids go crazy or makes people ill or whatever, why should it ruin it for the rest of us? I'm gonna start making my own soda and I'm gonna put a whole cup of sugar in each one. My dentist is gonna love me. So yes, this paragraph gets copied and pasted into each book, and what a terrible paragraph it is. But then being a novelist, right, isn't about storytelling or the power of the written word. It is about selling the same repackaged garbage to uncritical teenagers and women who really ought to know better by now. Anyway, buy my book about the Prime Minister's affair with an alien pig. She goes, also, I'm going to work on some... I've still got to do my political satire. I've just been busy. Have I been busy? I've been busy in my head. I don't know if that translates to real life, though. I do need to finish off my political satires because I got like a whole bunch. But I think I'm kind of bored of that idea and I just want to release a horror anthology. Like actual horror. I mean, like, yeah, a little bit of satire and stuff. Maybe a little bit Black Mirror vibes. Well, actually... Twilight Zone vibes because Black Mirror sucks. No, I should just get my satire done first before I move on to that. But I do plan on releasing a horror anthology and like sci-fi horror anthology. Anyway, she goes to the kitchen and bumps into Shaylin. I made a stupid sounding squeak and jumped. Gee, Shaylin, don't lurk like that. You almost scared the pee out of me. The chosen one. Imagine Harry Potter saying this. Actually, it is mad when you consider in Harry Potter he was younger than Zoe is in House of Night, like the entire time. She tells Zoe that her colour/aura is off because her aura is usually purple with silver flecks, of course it is. And her colours are murkier, like she's confused about something. All right, Mystic Meg. Do you know what the secret is to dealing with these psychic types, yeah? If they're getting on your nerves. Whack them in the face, because their psychic powers never warn them that it's coming. Shaylin promises not to blab about Zoe's colours and what they mean to other people, and she tells her Nicole's colours have been changing from evil to a bit nicer/cleaner. Zoe points out Shaylin's interpretations could just be subjective. Yeah, you seem to have the power to see the nature of someone's soul, but I really need to believe this one girl named Nicole is a bitch, so I'm going to have to undermine you now. And Shaylin is all, well, you need my gift anyway, whatever, against Neferet. I didn't know her very well, but it did seem like every time I saw her, I saw Eric. Not that I cared. Seriously. It wasn't jealous. That's a weird way to talk about yourself, Z. It was more like I felt responsible for warning her. Then Aphrodite appears to repeat that Eric is a dickhead and make mimosas. So Shaylin says Aphrodite is silver like moonlight touched by Nyx, but also butty yellow like a candle that can be blown out. Aphrodite's eyes narrowed and she slapped her hand against the tabletop. That's it, new kid. I have been through too much battle against darkness crap to put up with your mouth or your know-it-all attitude. She looked like she was getting ready to go for Shaylin's throat. Shaylin is annoying, so this is completely fair. Then Stevie Ray appears. Ugh. Looking at me and pointedly ignoring Shaylin, Aphrodite said, why is it speaking to me? Real. Shaylin cleared her throat. Look, Aphrodite, I didn't mean to sound so bitchy before. What I said was wrong. I shouldn't use my gift like that. You do have a flickery yellow light inside your moonlight light, but that's not because you're going to blow out. It's part of your uniqueness, your warmth. Here's the truth. Who talks like that? So American. It's like hell, you know. It's always Americans, you know, when they write hell, comma. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the truth. It's small and hidden because you keep how warm and good you are really hidden away most of the time, but that doesn't change that it's still there. So I'm sorry. Aphrodite turned cool blue eyes to Shaylin and said, it puts the lotion in the bucket. Oh boy, I said. Aphrodite, drink your breakfast. Shaylin, that's a good example of what you and I were talking about before. I don't question your gift. I don't doubt it. I do have an issue with your judgment in deciphering it. I deciphered it perfectly, Shaylin said, sounding upset and defensive, but Aphrodite pissed me off, so I messed up. I said I was sorry. Apology not accepted, Aphrodite said, and turned her back on Shaylin. What? A child in this series abusing their gifts? Well, I never. Zoe does also seem like the type of FMC who would never accept someone telling her that her interpretation of her own gifts was incorrect. The whole world, instead, would be wrong. Then Damian comes rushing in. I was only mildly curious at first as I saw the Fox 23 evening news anchor, the totally to die for gorgeous Chera Kimiko talking. We hearted some Chera. Not only was she vampire level beautiful, but she was actually a real person versus the usual plastic talking head news anchor types. This is a real person. It's a real human. This is such a bizarre shout out. Like, are you friends with her? Neferet gave a press conference. Queen of Chaos. Chapter 6. Zoe. Neferet goes on the news with Aphrodite's dad, the mayor, and some city council humans to publicly sever ties with the House of Night and Vampire High Council, saying that the vampires promote violence against humans and that all the human attacks several books ago were probably down to vampires, which is true. She also says red fledglings exist and are damaged and mentions Stark by name and tries to imply that he killed Dragon. Such drama. Then Aphrodite's dad announces that Neferet is added to the city council as the vampire liaison. And this is all so dumb. I can't believe there are 10 books of this, all taking place within a 24-hour news cycle. Neferet will be authoring a weekly column in the Tulsa World Scene insert. For now, that would be the forum through which she will answer your multitude of questions. Is that it? My dad is loving this, Aphrodite said. I noticed she'd set the champagne aside and this time was refilling her glass with just orange juice. For years, he's wanted to figure out how he could get in with vampires. After they got over me not turning into a clone of my mum, they were actually pleased when I was marked. Again, Aphrodite should be the main character because she's the most interesting one. Aphrodite says her parents want in with vampires just to seem popular and cool, and that her dad is a real politician who promises one thing and does another, thus he thinks he can probably get one over Neferet. They head to the House of Night to talk to Thanatos. Neferet. I cannot wait for Neferet's POV to explicitly confirm what we just read about. She's thinking about Aphrodite's father and then thinks of fathers and then has a minor freak out because she has daddy issues and she's basically like if Lana Del Rey was a vampire. Neferet's voice did not frame them as such. The 4 city councilmen who had joined the press conference and the mayor turned in her direction. She easily read each of them. They all found her beautiful and desirable. 2 so much that they'll be willing to forsake their wives, their families, and their careers to mate with her. Charles Lafont was not one of those 2. Aphrodite's father lusted after her, of that there was no doubt, but his foremost desire was not sexual. Lafont's greatest need was to feed his wife's obsession with status and social acceptance. It was a pity, really, that he couldn't be more easily seduced. Wait, is Charles a real man? A Gomez, I love my wife man? Nice. Neferet loathed dogs almost as much as she loathed men. Can't get behind this. What a bitch. Neferet and Charles disagree about how much the public need to know about how dangerous the House of Night is. Lafont nodded and stroked his chin. Neferet was certain he believed he looked wise and benevolent. To her eyes, he appeared weak and ridiculous. She is so funny. She's like the evil queen at Disneyland parks, roasting everyone. I could read a whole book from this POV and I'd be happy. No complaints here. It was then that Neferet noticed his hands. They were large and pale with thick fingers that, for all their size, looked soft and feminine. Neferet's stomach heaved. She almost gagged on her wine as some of her cool demeanour slipped. She gagged. Don't let her meet old sausage fingers King Charles then. Am I going to get done for treason? Reticence and writing were not what I planned when I sought you out, she said. Perhaps not, but I have been in Oklahoma politics for almost 20 years and I know my people. Slow and easy prodding is what works with them. Like herding cattle, Neferet said, not hiding the disdain in her voice. Well, I wouldn't use that analogy, but I found that forming a committee and researching, polling the community, getting sample feedback, all of that does make for a well-greased wheel in the cog of city politics, Lafont chuckled and sipped his wine. Hidden in the folds of her velvet dress, Neferet closed her hands into a fist and squeezed until her talon-like fingernails punctured her palm. I thought she was doing the Arthur fist meme, but of course she draws blood on herself to use darkness to try to get Charles to do what she wants and fight the vampires, but they get interrupted by his phone ringing, so he leaves. She rings Dallas and tells him to break up the twins, Shawnee and Erin specifically, and then she flounces off to eat a bellboy. Chapter 7, Zoe. Boo! They get to school and see the students standing around confused and worried, and Aphrodite is like, pfft, Thanatos should make them go to class before they think we are screwed about Neferet, and Zoe is like, please Nix, let me say the right thing because she can't do anything herself, and she's all, Aphrodite is right. But you know, I am worried that their vampiric studies aren't going so well. The curriculum must be an absolute shambles with all these murders, fires, and essentially having a sassy drag queen Voldemort on the faculty. Oh god. That mean they's fucked, Carisha said. That is beautifully said, Carisha, thank you. She delegates tasks to her groups to help the students, then goes to find Thanatos with Stevie Ray, boo, and Aphrodite. Aphrodite goes to ring her mum to warn her about Neferet not expecting to be listened to, and then she tells Shaylin to buzz off. Based. Aphrodite held up her hand. Yeah, I know, I should be nicer, blah blah, but she bugs me. She reminds me too much of a mini Kim Kardashian, which means she's useless, irritating, and way too visible. First, Bumpkin. I know you've gone all goo-goo-eyed about Colona since he dropped water on your bird boy and resurrected him. He cried immortal tears on his son and magically brought him back from near death. Jeez Louise, you were there, you saw it, Stevie Ray said. You're not speaking to me, remember? But you just made my point for me. Up until a few hours ago, we believed Colona was as batshit crazy and dangerous as Neferet. Now he's Death's warrior. The school's gonna slobber all over him, just like they did after he broke out of the ground. We're going to show more sense. Or at least I'm going to show more sense. It'd be nice if you two joined me. I'll never trust him, I spoke quietly, saying words that came from deep in my heart. Z, he gave Thanatos his oath, Stevie Ray said. I met her gaze. He killed Heath. He killed Stark. She's such an idiot. I hate Stevie Ray. She would pick me. He only brought Stark back because Nyx forced him to pay a life debt for Heath. Stevie Ray, I was in the other world with him. Colona asked when Nyx would forgive him. She told him he could only ask when he was worthy of her forgiveness. Maybe that's what he's working towards, she said. And maybe he's a manipulative, lying rapist and murderer, Aphrodite countered. If Zoe and I are wrong, then great. You can say told you so and we'll all smile and throw an effing party. If we're right, then we will not have been caught off guard when a fallen god goes on another rampage. Finally, someone pointed out, that Colona is a serial killing rapist. Thank you, Aphrodite. And in your face, Stevie Ray, for being the worst pick-me character ever. Imagine simping for a rapist. But you know, it simply tickles me pink the way they rattle off plot details so matter-of-factly it sounds like vapid busybodies gossiping about something that definitely wasn't an endless string of supernatural/violent events. And my god, I heard Osiris and Jason were wearing the ugliest chinos in the chamber of ambient augury right before the concept of entropy itself materialized through the orb of chaos and magic to call Diogenes the horn dog a bitch. It reads exactly the same to me, and I just vomited that out in a second. Huge scenes at the Alizee household. It's my house that's getting guarded. I didn't even notice. Oh well, anyway. Let me double check you guys can't hear it. I think there's a little bit of it in the background, but just imagine it's like ambient sound or something. So then Aphrodite, again the best, smartest, most observable character, who would have made the series more tolerable if it was shown from her POV, says, Zoe, why did you call Aurox Heath? So Zoe actually tells the truth for once, so they theorize about why Heath was around Aurox. They both press her to tell Stark about her suspicions re Aurox, just to make sure she's not vulnerable to or around Aurox, and she agrees. I worried about telling Stark about the Aurox Heath issue, and I worried about my clenching stomach and the possibility of my IBS acting up in the middle of everything. Again, that is like the 20th time she's used that joke. Chapter 8, Shawnee. Can we not? Please. This is why the books are so slow. Please. Just get into your element and it'll be okay. It'll be easy, Erin said. Shawnee blinked at her, not surprised that she'd spoken. Erin had definitely been avoiding speaking to her since they'd untwined, but surprised at her offhanded tone. She was talking about burning Dragon's body as if it was no more than lighting a match. Nothing about Dragon's funeral will be easy, Erin, with or without my element. I didn't mean easy. Erin looked annoyed. Shawnee thought that it seemed these days Erin always looked annoyed. Clearly ready to transform into an evil slag. I'm going to go to the stables. Lenobia will be glad to see water. Or worse, expelled. And I don't have an issue with using my elements. Without another word, Erin walked away. Has she always been like that? Shawnee heard herself asking Damian the question that had been circling round in her mind for days. You'll have to define that. Heartless. Honestly? Yeah. Has Erin always been so heartless? That's really difficult for me to answer, Shawnee. Damian was speaking softly, as if he thought he needed to be careful his words didn't bruise her. Just tell me the truth, even if it's hard, she said. Well, then, honestly, until the two of you broke up, it was mostly impossible to tell what each of you was like individually. I'd never known one of you without the other. You two finished each other's sentences. It was like you were two halves of a whole. But not now? Shawnee prodded when he hesitated. No, now it's different. Now you're individuals with your own personalities. He smiled at her. Jesus Christ, it only took them, 18 years to get there? The nicest way that I can put this is that it's pretty obvious to most of us that your personality is the one with the heart. They were both just bitchy bullies as bad as each other before, and if the Erin that Erin is based on IRL hadn't done something to piss off PC cast, we'd be none the wiser that actually Shawnee is the good one and Erin the evil one. Also, it's so funny that they met and then just became twins, and no one's like, is that not odd? And then they like molded personalities. I mean, I guess you could call it like trauma bonding, but this was written X amount of years ago, so I doubt that term is going to come up. I'm also tired of always having to say something sarcastic or witty or just downright hateful. She shook her head, feeling sad and really old. That doesn't mean I think Erin's awful. Right. Erin wasn't forcing you to be hateful though. You were doing that gleefully alongside her for many books. Shawnee heads to the pyre to help the warriors, and Damian goes around with his air to lighten the mood, I guess. They are all a bunch of irrational teenagers with no idea what they're doing. Evangelion, I say, was way better than all of this on its worst day. Shawnee blinked back tears and smiled, watching his fluffy brown hair bounce around in his own little breeze. Fire, she whispered. Send a little spark with Damian. He deserves to find a hot guy to make him happy, especially because he always tries so hard to make others happy. Didn't what's-his-face ex-boyfriend just die? Like, come on, don't replace him just yet. Then Colona appears. Ugh. And Colona is always trauma dumping on Shawnee. She's 17. Like, she can't help this immortal nonce. He was wearing jeans and a leather vest, one that looked a lot like what Dragon used to wear. Only this vest was bigger and had slits through which Colona's black wings emerged and then tucked against his back. In my head, he looks like an emo cowboy. Colona is all, thank you for giving me that cell phone. Oh, I'm a bad dad to my sons. Shawnee is 17. She literally cannot help with that. Yeah, lately I've believed it more and more. She wished he'd look away from her. So how many kids do you have? He shrugged. His massive wings lifted slightly before settling again. I have lost count. Seems like knowing how many kids you have is a good place to start in the whole I'd like to be a good dad thing. That's a whole lot of kids being born under sexual assault that we shouldn't be so flippant about. She tells him to maybe ask for Nyx's help too. Forgiveness is not granted to all of us, his voice thundered. Well, I'm glad he didn't overreact. He's like, oh, she doesn't hear me. And Shawnee is like, okay, how many times have you asked to have help in the past few centuries? And he goes, not once. Men, weaponized incompetence. Is this their world's version of not going to therapy? Refame. Everyone else thinks Refame blindly trusts Colona and is naive, but that's not the case, as he knows better than all of them how much of a violent tyrant his father really is. Aurox. He's in the pit Colona came out of several books ago, wallowing in the dirt in his own filth. Why had he believed it a good idea to return to the school, to hide on the very grounds where the professor he had killed, as well as the boy he had attempted to kill, lived? Because the plot needs it. So he frets about how he's a monster, but he didn't kill Zoe, but everyone wants him dead. Then he overhears Refame asking for the goddess to help him forgive himself. Well, look, Refame, maybe do a whip round and get all your new rich mates to donate to a women's shelter. Could be a start with the whole, redemption arc. Or are you going to do nothing and then magically forgive yourself? Got it. I know nothing, he whispered to himself. I know nothing. Well, in realising that, you are smarter than Zoe anyway. Then he tries praying to Nyx as well. Guys, it is just that easy. If you kill or maim or rape anyone, you just have to pray it all away. Chapter 9, Zoe. They all want to stop Neferet. Duh, that's literally what they've been doing for 8 books now. Which means the Vampire High Council has to stand up and do something about her, I said. I wish it were that simple, Thanatos said. The High Council will not mingle humans in vampire affairs, she said. But Neferet's already done that, I said. Yeah, talk about closing the barn door after the cows have already gone out, Stevie Ray said. The bitch killed Zoe's mum. Aphrodite was shaking her head as in disbelief. Are you saying that the High Council is just going to ignore that and let her get away with murder and talk shit about all of us? And what would you have the High Council do? Expose Neferet as a killer? Yes, I spoke up, glad I sounded tough and mature instead of scared and about 12, which is really how this whole thing was making me feel. I know she's immortal and powerful, but she killed my mum. We have no proof of that, Thanatos said quietly. Bullshit, Aphrodite exploded. We all saw it. The High Council are literally the most useless council I've ever seen, so I guess it's actually low-key accurate then, huh? Guess I'll just shut up now. Councils are only ever included in books to be useless, which is accurate. They've never actually done their job. Thank God we have a team of hormonal idiots on hand to solve the problems though. So the reveal ritual only works once, and now evidence of Neferet's involvement has been washed away when the earth got cleansed, except why does Thanatos' perception, viewpoint, opinion not count for anything? She's literally on the High Council too, and she saw it. She took darkness as her consort, Aphrodite argued. She's not just in league with evil, she's probably doing the nasty with it. Ew, Stevie Ray and I said together. I wish they'd been allowed to keep that scene in. I just want to know the logistics of Neferet humping a giant evil bull. Shaylin interrupts to say humans won't believe them anyway because they don't trust vampire magic. Oh, okay, whatever. They don't trust vampires, but sure. Watch every TV show, listen to every song, read every word vampires perform, sing and write. Then there's this bullshit. Let me show you the truth of who we are, and then you might understand more about this fight you're insisting we take to the humans. Thanatos lifted her right arm, holding her palm up about chest level away from her body. She cupped her hand, breathed in deeply, and with her left hand, swelled the air above her upraised palm, saying, "Behold the world." Her voice was powerful, mesmerizing. My eyes were drawn to her palm. On it, a globe of the world was taking form. It was awesome. Not like those boring globes history teachers / coaches use as dust gatherers. This one looked like it was made of black smoke. The water rippled and rolled. The continents emerged, carved from onyx. Oh my goodness, Stevie Ray said. It's so pretty. It is, Thanatos said. And now behold who we are in the world. She flicked the fingers of her left hand at the globe as if she was sprinkling it with water. Aphrodite, Stevie Ray, Shaylin and I gasped. Little sprinkles began appearing, dotting the onyx land masses with tiny diamond lights. That's beautiful, I said. Are they diamonds? Real diamonds? Aphrodite asked, stepping closer. No, young prophetess. They are souls. Vampire souls. They are us. But there are so few lights. I mean, compared to the rest of the globe, that's all dark, Shaylin said. I frowned a step closer along with Aphrodite. Shaylin was right. The earth looked huge compared to the sprinkling of sparkly dots. I stared and stared. My eyes were drawn to the clusters of shininess. Venice, the Isle of Skye, somewhere in what I thought was Germany, a cluster of light in France, a few splotches in Canada, and several more sprinkled around the continental US. Several more, but still not very many. Is that Australia? Steve Ray asked. I peered around to the other side of the globe, catching sight of another spattering of diamonds. It is, Thanatos said. And New Zealand as well. That's Japan, isn't it? Shaylin pointed to another tiny splotch of glitter. Yes, it is, Thanatos said. America doesn't have as many diamonds as it should, Aphrodite said. Thanatos didn't respond. She met my gaze. I looked away, studying the globe again. Slowly I walked all the way around her, wishing I'd paid better attention in geography class, any of them. When I completed my circle, I met the High Priestess's gaze again. There aren't enough of us, I said. That is the absolute unfortunate truth, Thanatos said. We are brilliant, powerful, and spectacular, but we are few. So even if we could get the humans to listen to us, we'd be opening a door to our world that's better left closed. Aphrodite spoke calmly, sounding mature and uncharacteristically non-bitchy. They start thinking their rules apply to us, that we need them to keep us in line, and that means they start putting out our lights. I call bullshit. I did the maths. There are approximately 3 to 5 million actors, singers, and authors in the world. And in this universe, almost all of them are vampires. Not to mention, vampires literally have magic abilities and the power of Nyx on their side, and super strength, and other abilities, and wealth. Dude, they could kill so many humans if they really wanted to, so don't give me that rubbish. It's not like humans have any special anti-vampire weapons, just guns, which vampires could also use. So there, I win. Also, if we're going there, right, Neferet may be powerful, but she has to cut herself every time to use darkness, and the bigger the sacrifice, the more darkness she can use. If they got, probably the wrong time to say this with the context of the geopolitical state of the world, but hey, if they got the US Army involved, right, and they just fired missile after missile at Neferet, she's not like the vampires in Twilight, right, that are pretty much indestructible and maybe could survive a nuke, maybe not. I'm sure they could blast her to pieces, but she is kind of immortal now. But wouldn't it be helpful to have that, even if maybe it didn't kill her off, it would still serve as a good enough distraction, I suppose? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Shaylin then reveals her true sight to Thanatos. She said Neferet was the colour of dead fish eyes. That makes me think she might have something more going on than simple mental illness or mild slur going on. Aphrodite surprised me by saying, yes, this novel has morally grey characters because they use slurs. So she explains herself to Thanatos and then says, it's the same way I know Eric Knight is basically an okay guy, but he's weak. He's always taken the easy road. She just slags off Eric randomly to a high council member. That is what he gets, but also how juvenile is that? Shaylin looked quickly at Stevie Ray, then back to Thanatos. Stevie Ray's colours are like fireworks. That makes me think she's the kindest, happiest person I've ever met. Might want to get your eyes tested, pal. Should have gone Specsavers. Thanatos then gives them all tasks in the battle for love and light and truth. Get on with it. You have been gifted by Nyx with visions that are warnings of dire things to come. Did you have a vision before Neferet's press conference? No. Aphrodite looked surprised by Thanatos' question. I haven't had a vision for a week now. Then what good are you, prophetess? Her words were hard, cold. Thanatos almost sounded cruel. Aphrodite's face got real pale, then blazed with pink. Who are you to question me? You're not Nyx. I don't answer to you. I answer to her. Exactly. Thanatos' expression relaxed. Yeah, screw you, lady. Honestly, the way Aphrodite constantly has to validate her presence is beyond annoying. She's still superhuman, after all. Aphrodite's visions have been increasingly painful, so Thanatos says maybe the goddess wants her to exercise her gift in other ways, like knowing how Colona and Zoe's souls went in their bodies in one of the previous books. Bruh. Nyx has been torturing Aphrodite on purpose just to get her to switch it up a little. Couldn't just tell her this like she tells Zoe everything. She appears to, one of her incarnations appears to Zoe later on for like no reason. Couldn't have like given Aphrodite a message, right? Had to torture her and make her eyes bleed. Literally never treats anyone else in the novel like this. Rafame is a rapist and he doesn't get treated like this. Colona fell from grace and he still doesn't get treated like this. The goddess gives her softest battles to her most prolific sex offenders, I suppose. Thanatos tells Stevie Ray she defers to Zoe too much and needs to be a high priestess on her own and act like it. Because a 17-year-old should definitely hold the rank of a high priestess. Makes it so meaningful. Her dark gaze skewers Shaylin. If you have true sight, your gift is only as good as you are. Do not squander it on pettiness and jealousies. That's why I'm here, Shaylin spoke quickly. I want to learn how to use it the right way. That, young fledgling, is something you must grow up and teach yourself. Hilarious. That boomer vampire's advice to Stevie Ray and Shaylin is grow up and do it yourself. Literally, what is the point of them going to a vampire school in the first place if they just have to grow up and do everything themselves? Thanatos then tells Zoe to use her seer stone more and stop being a pussy. It frightens you, she spoke as if I hadn't said anything. The truth is the world should frighten you, should frighten all of you right now. Fear is not a reason to avoid your responsibilities, see? Then she says, prove you're not all bickering children, and dismisses them. I appreciate the sentiment, but could you not leave this lesson for when it isn't a matter of the world ending? They say it's the world, like the world is going to end and Neferet is going to destroy everything with like the white ball, but I don't feel any stakes because they all refer to these life-altering calamities as though they were inconveniences, as though they were discussing the weather. She does reveal she's going to call her own press conference and they all need to come, so I guess she's not totally useless. Her plan is to make Neferet look like a disgruntled employee to the public, and then the girls plan to make it a job fair charity event type thing that the community can come so the humans can mingle with them. I'm laughing because I accidentally wrote minge instead of mingle. We left Thanatos' classroom talking about the press conference and the open house and how good it felt that we had a plan. It was only later that I realised I hadn't said one single word about the Aurox Heath situation, which I'm sure she did accidentally. My mind can't really quite wrap itself around the way the book executes its story. I feel like they're often talking about some kind of eldritch evil that has a plan to dominate all life on Earth, but their plan sounds like they're holding a car wash to raise funds for like whatever, the cats. Also, I do hate that the chapter ended on ellipses. Chapter 10, Shawnee. Shawnee helps the sons of Arabus with building Dragon's Pyre, but she makes everyone miserable until Aphrodite appears. And then we have this. So, handsome, do you remember the lecture Dragon gave you when you and I first started going out? Aphrodite winked at several of the other warriors. I'll bet Stephen and Connor and Weston remember it, don't they? Wasn't it the three of you had to pull extra training with Darius after Dragon found out he was fraternizing with a fledgling? Aphrodite had lowered her voice and affected a tone that sounded weirdly like the Swordmaster. The warriors actually smiled. 3 days in a row, Dragon made each of us have a go at your boy there. Darius snorted. Watch yourself, Connor. I've not been a boy for decades. Connor laughed. I think that's what Dragon was having a problem with. How old is Darius? I don't want to look it up because I don't want to like read any spoilers because, you know, I have been trying to do this. I first started reading the book a while ago when I was like, 16, 17? And I've on and off poured 3 years of stretched out content, way too stretched out, in finding out how this series ends. So I don't want to read up any spoilers. But how old is Darius? Is he like 40 and Aphrodite's 18? Do you know what? I'm going to say it. He is like the least problematic dude in the book. He's not like a actual proper sex offender. So I just don't care. He could be 100. I don't care. Fine, whatever. Have fun, Aphrodite. Anyway, luckily in this anecdote, Anastasia, that dead professor who died like in book 3, saved the day. Shawnee had to join the laughter. She seriously said Dragon was picking on Darius. Connor, who was tall and blonde and almost as hot as Shawnee's element, said she absolutely did. She even called him Brian and reminded him that had she not fraternized with a fledgling a century ago, his life would be much less interesting. I'm sure you all think this is a great message. It's just reminding me of Macron and his wife. We need to remember this tonight, Shawnee said. Remember their joy and their oath and that they still have love. Always love, Darius said softly, touching Aphrodite's cheek. Always love, she echoed. This is so trite. Thank God it's also repetitive. Then Shawnee wanders off and overhears Erin. Then she heard the other voice. Shawnee didn't recognise who it was at first. He wasn't talking loud enough. She only recognised Erin's flirty giggle. Shawnee was trying to decide if curiosity was the same as nosiness when his voice got louder and she realised the guy Erin was aiming her flirty giggle at was Dallas. The exclamation mark is killing me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't get you off my mind, girl. You know what water and electricity make when they come together, don't you? I know PC Cast needs Erin to be evil because she's immature and hates whoever Erin was based on IRL, but I refuse to believe this line works on anyone. She heard Erin's flirty answer. Lightning, that's what electricity and water make. Sounds hot to me. Ooh. That's because it is hot. You are hot. You're like a sauna, girl, or a steam bath I'd like to soak in. What? No way would she want anything to do with Dallas. He was a total asshole. He hated Stevie Ray and Zoe. Stevie Ray had said he tried to kill her. Oh no. Anyway, Erin had backed up against the fountain. Water was flowing all over her. Her hair, her clothes, her body. Dallas was staring at her like he was starving and she was a T-bone steak dinner. Erin lifted her arms up over her head, making her boobs press against her soggy shirt, which was white and wet and now totally see-through. How's this for a wet t-shirt contest? Her voice was all sexy and she shimmied a bit, making her boobs bounce. Is this a Penelope Douglas work, as in piece of work? Anyway, then Erin just gets naked, just like that, in semi-public. PC Cast didn't even try to make this believable. Sounds good to me. I like wearing nothing but water. Erin peeled off the thong. Now all she had on were Christian Louboutin boots. She ran her hands all over her body with the water. Want to get wet with me? Wet isn't all I want to get with you, he said. Girl, I'm going to open up a whole other world for you. I'm ready for it, she said silkily, touching herself. Because I'm sick of the boring ass world I've been living in. Lightning, girl. Let's make some lightning and some changes. Bring it, Erin said. I feel mildly violated. Zoe. So Dallas's red fledglings are acting, quotation, like they want to clean the stable, and Zoe doesn't trust them, so Stevie Ray tells Shaylin to come with her to look at the auras of the fledglings and tell her which are the most dangerous. So she then goes to the broken oak tree and her seer stone starts activating. So what did that mean for me? What kind of priestess was I becoming? I sighed. A confused, crappy one who didn't get enough sleep. One with potential drifted through my mind. One who doesn't know enough, I mentally countered with. One who needs to believe in herself, the wind whispered to me. One who... This is what I mean. You think Nyx could have just been like, hey, Aphrodite, your prophetess powers work in different ways. I don't need to bleed you from the eyes anymore. One who needs to quit screwing up, my mind insisted. One who needs to believe in her goddess. And that stopped my mental battle. I do believe in you, Nyx. I always will. Good thing Nyx is always around to hold her hand. So she looks for her seer stone at the tree and, from the centre of the shattered trunk, a ugly, terrible, whirling vortex of shadows emerged. Within the whirlpool, I could see horrible creatures with twisted bodies covered in skin that was mottled, as if they were rotting from disgusting diseases. Their eyes were cavernous sockets. Their mouths were sewn shut. I could smell them. It was a stink like old roadkill mixed with a backed-up toilet. Ugh. I gagged and must have made a retching sound because as a group they turned their sightless faces to me. Their long skeletal fingers reached towards me. No, stop! The spirit's comfort was shattered. I was paralysed by fear. And then from the very centre of the vortex, a beautiful full moon-coloured light flashed up, burning the horrid creatures into nothingness. What new ass pull is this? Again... Say what you want about Harry Potter, but at least the author, who has been lost to the sands of time, knew how to adequately foreshadow. I've noticed with many of these books like this these days, and I'm only saying these days because I've read them these days. I mean, books could have been like this 50 years ago, but like the author of Harry Potter, have also been lost to the sands of time, so I'm unaware. But I've noticed with books like this, they pull things out of their ass randomly with little preempting. ACOTAR, I read the first few ones and it was doing it book by book and it was so annoying. It was just, hey, this new thing that we've it's never been referenced before. This will save the world. The author of Harry Potter and the author of Darren Shan series called Darren Shan, in comparison, are so much better at foreshadowing, and then it ends up being a much more satisfying read. And then there's like rereadability value in that as well. Especially Darren Shan, he's very good. I interviewed him once on my podcast. That was like a full circle moment for me. But he had moments foreshadowed from like the first or second book in the Darren Shan vampYre series. So Zoe runs away from these spirit zombies and bumps into Stark. Actually, the zapping light was kind of like Suki's fairy light thing. Do you think there's any chance I'm a fairy? Nosy, focus. True blood is fiction. This is the real world. What happened after the zapping light? I don't know, this just annoyed me for some reason, but you know what doesn't? Using much better fiction to boost yourself up. Nice. I've never even watched True Blood. Then she tells Stark she saw Heath in Aurox with the Steer Stone, and finally she is learning her lesson. Character development only took 10 books. That bull thing is not Heath. How can you even think that? It's not that I'm thinking it, it's what I saw. Zoe, look, there has to be an explanation for what you saw. He took a step back. Gee, if only there was a goddess we could just ask and get the answer immediately from. So then Zoe starts crying. Don't worry, Z. Heath and I made peace in the other world. I'd be glad to see him again. Really? I had to step out of his arms long enough to blow my nose. Well, yeah, glad to see him again, but not as glad for you to see him again. Ugh. Ugh. She was his friend and girlfriend for many years. Freak. Get over it. She's all, I don't know, man, Aurox makes me feel weird, and Stark basically flips her off instead of taking her seriously. Like, dude, unfortunately, when is Zoe ever like that wrong about stuff? These characters are so dumb. Think about it, Z. What all have you seen through the stone? What all? Why is he talking like this? Then she tells him she saw something weird with him through the stone too. Chapter 11, Zoe. She says she saw a shadow over him once and she chased it away with spirit. This was probably like 4 books ago. She looks him again with the seer stone and sees nothing. I think that I'm done with deciding what I'm going to do because of what other people say, especially adult other people who hand us mysteries or drop us off in the middle of a shitstorm without giving us any real help, especially adult other people. Then they just gossip and Zoe realizes she has missing time and lost 3 hours due to the seer stone. What now? Has she been abducted by aliens? She promises not to use the seer stone again without him, and it starts heating up. Then a taxi pulls up at the school, bringing Travis back, who Lenobia collects. So Zoe looks through the stone at Travis and sees what's-his-face, you know, that bloke, Lenobia's soulmate from 200 years ago. What is the point of the seer stone? Like, genuinely, how is this information useful to anyone except Lenobia? Then Stark yells at her to put the stone down, so she throws up. So Lenobia freaks out, thinking she's rejecting the change, as if we can wish. So she tells Lenobia and Travis what she saw, and Lenobia cries, and Zoe realizes the seer stone shows the truth. I am so whelmed right now. I stood, like, how... Yeah, it helps later on in this book. How's that going to help against the white bull? Like, look through the seer stone at the white bull and see evil. We know he's evil. I stood and took Stark's hands again, pulling him away so that the two of them could be alone. As we walked into the stables, he said, "This does not mean Aurox's Heath come back to you. You know that, right? Stark, why are you so wrong and stupid and ugly all of the time?" Then Stevie Ray arrives and Zoe tells her about Aurox. I forget if she knows already. Who cares? Chapter 12, Colona. Being on the side of light wasn't as interesting as he remembered. Truth be told, Colona was bored. Bro has been good for 5 minutes. He's already getting angsty. The problem was Colona had never minded being insulting. He was a powerful immortal. Why should he be bothered by the inconsequential feelings of others? Because those I find most inconsequential sometimes surprise me. Heath, Stark, Dragon, Aurox, Refame. The last name in his mental list startled him. Refame had said... Why is he getting startled by his own thoughts? You stupid. Pussy old bruv. Refame had seemed inconsequential to him at one time, but he'd been wrong. Colona had realised he loved his son. Needed his son. I was screeching that Refame had been his greatest son for centuries, but was inconsequential until like 3 weeks ago. What else had he been wrong about? Probably quite a lot of things. The thought depressed him. Is this a bad haiku? Being told what to do annoyed him. It always annoyed him. And then there was this fledgling who had an affinity for fire, Shawnee. She seemed to have the ability to prod him, to make him consider things he was unused to spending his time considering. Is he going to fall in love with her? Because I do not trust this. Then he gets triggered thinking about Nyx and declares he will not think of her at all while sitting around like near Nyx's temple. Then Arabus turns up, as in the Arabus, as in the demigod, the sons of Arabus, Arabus. What is going on? How exciting. This is like how Marvel fans feel when someone called Zorko turns up for a cameo. So anyway, Colona calls him short. Arabus, his brother, Nyx's immortal consort, the one being in this universe who was most like him, and the one being in this universe Colona hated even more than he hated himself. Here, in the mortal realm after all these aeons, why? Colona hid his shock with disdain. You are shorter than I remembered. Arabus smiled. Good to see you too, brother. It is great to see the garbage trope of siblings calling one another brother and sister exists in these books too. All the viewers with siblings, comment below on how often you speak to them like this. Oh yeah, by the way, Arabus and Colona are brothers. I don't remember if we knew this already, but I was like, wow, I didn't know that. So yeah, that's why he took it extra hard that Nyx rejected him but shags his identical twin brother. Hilarious. Brilliant. Arabus has golden wings, though, compared to Colona's black ones. Ooh. No, I came because you are a liar and a thief. The assault of the last of Neferet's goodness is just one of your many crimes, Arabus said. He, too, crossed his arms over his chest. Colona laughed. You have not been spying well enough if you believe assault had anything to do with what Nyx and I shared. What? Wait, what? Neferet? What am I talking about? Neferet and I shared. She was more than willing, more than ready for my body. I was not speaking of her body. Arabus's voice had risen, and Colona could hear the sounds of vampires calling, questioning what was happening over by Nyx's temple. Ooh, the girlies are fighting. As usual, brother, you have appeared to cause problems with me. I was supposed to remain in the shadows, unseen and waiting to be summoned, though as I consider more fully, it'll be amusing to watch you deal with mortal discovery. A quick word of advice. Even vampires tend to overreact when meeting a god. Arabus didn't hesitate. He lifted both hands and commanded, conceal us. There was a rush of wind and a feeling of lightness that Colona found so familiar, so bittersweet, that only two responses came to his mind, anger or despair. He would not allow Arabus to see his despair. You defy Nyx? She has proclaimed that I may not enter the other world. How dare you take me here? Colona's night-coloured wings were fully extended and he tensed, ready to attack his brother. Sure, Colona, it's the vampires who overreact. The action is really lukewarming up. Arabus is all, no, you impetuous fool. I brought a piece of the other world here to shield us. He had been, Colona thought with disgust. He had been fashioned when the sky kissed the sun, just as I had been fashioned when the sky kissed the moon. The sky, like most immortals, is a fickle bastard who took as he pleased and then paid no attention to the offspring he left behind. Colona has daddy issues. Can't wait for this trend of immortals born at the beginning of the world behaving like bratty teenagers to end, though. Arabus is all, you always claim things as yours, and Colona is all, yes, Nyx wanted to be loved by me, and then they just start fighting over Nyx. It is not that they named me the good one. They named you the usurper. Arabus held the words his brother. Truly? Ask again. I believe. After aeons of careful consideration, they would name me the one who refused to share her, Colona said. She chose me. Arabus's voice was lower. His fists were clenched at his sides. Did she? My memory differs. You betrayed her, Arabus shouted. Women, am I right? Anyway, Arabus is here to warn Colona because he's blaspheming Arabus a bit by trying to become the leader of the Sons of Arabus, and Arabus tells him to stop meddling and leave. Maybe it's the pacing or the plot or the terrible dialogue from the characters, but it feels like nothing is happening. But are you not meddling by commanding me away? I'm surprised Nyx allowed it. My consort does not know I am here. How is she God if she's not omniscient then? Take that, book, with my powers of scraping a pass in A-level philosophy. You live to lick her F-words, and you are, as always, jealous of me. Colona couldn't help his surge of joy at what Arabus's words had revealed. I can still make Nyx feel. The goddess watches me. The immortal reigned in his emotions. Firstly, there was absolutely no need for such vulgarity at the beginning of that. And secondly, why is Bro 14? Why are all of these immortals like squabbling teenagers? These gods command less respect than a supply teacher. Colona is all, I pledge myself to the high priestess who personifies death, so I'm serving death now, leave me alone, and he claps Arabus away. Then Aphrodite appears to boss him around, and Colona is suddenly incapable of opening a wooden door, but Aphrodite does it easily. She glances up at him before he stepped over the threshold of the goddess's temple. You are so weird. She tossed her hair and went inside. Real. He works out that Nyx has denied him entrance to her temple and her heart. Oh, the drama from a grown immortal. Aurox. Aurox is still in a hole praying to Nyx when those stinky zombies appear. Then some mist starts to eat his flesh. And then he was all of those things and none of those things. Aurox was nothing at all. Nothing at all. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Stupid sexy Aurox. He then sees Zoe throwing up and worries the mist will eat her too. Then nothing happens and he's fine. He crawls out of the hole, climbs up a tree and watches Dragon's funeral pyre. Like, are you mad, bruv? Just leave. So Dragon's funeral happens. The High Priestess smiled at the fledgling. Tell us, Zoe Redbird, as you have actually entered the other world and returned. What is the one constant there? Love, Zoe said, without hesitation. Always love. And you, James Stark, what did you find in the other world? Thanatos asked the young warrior who stood with his arm around Zoe's shoulders. Love, Stark repeated in a strong, steady voice. Always love. Always nonsense, more like. Good God, just light your scented candles from HomeSense and get over with it already. Thanatos then announces Colona as the new leader and warrior, and she announces Aurox killed Dragon, and he's made from a sacrifice of darkness. I have evidence that Shadowfax's life was taken by Neferet, so that darkness maintained dominion over Aurox. For Anastasia's little Genevieve, or whatever, that death was one too many. Grief stopped her heart, and she willingly followed Shadowfax to the other world to be reunited with those they both loved best. This is the saddest thing I've read in all 10 books so far, but also, we do know, you've told us many times. Thanatos accepts that Colona doesn't want to lead the warriors, and she says it would be disrespectful to Nyx and Arabus anyway, and Colona's eyes flashed with momentary anger. He's gonna kill her, isn't he? Then Shawnee sets the pyre on fire, and Aurox goes back into the hole in the ground to weep. Relatable. Chapter 13, Zoe. After the funeral, they all chat, and Shawnee says to Erin, Erin, is it cool with you if I move Beelzebub, that's their cat, Beelzebub's litter box and stuff to my room? He's been sleeping there most days. Erin glanced at Shawnee, shrugged, and said, yeah, whatever, that litter box smells like shit anyway. Erin, cats don't like to use a dirty litter box. You have to clean it every day. Damian informed her with a frown. Erin gave a sarcastic little snort. Not anymore, I don't have to. Then she returned to checking out the other kids. I noticed she wasn't crying. I thought about it and realised she hadn't cried once during the entire funeral. I really don't care about this, but her I'm an evil slag arc is so clumsily done. Then some humans turn up. Predictably, Damian was the first of us to pull himself together. I mean, Damian really should be crowned Miss Congeniality for the Tulsa House of Night. Ha 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 ha, it's Miss Congeniality because he's a gay man, so that basically means he's a woman. You are absolutely at the correct spot. Well done you for finding... Well done you for finding us. Damian's smile was so warm that I watched the tense set of the human shoulders relax. If someone spoke to me like this, I would immediately assume they were being condescending and I would flip my lid. Do you know what I would do to these kids? I would spray aerosoled onions on all of them, and then they would be like, did you mean to use garlic? Because that's just in books, it's not actually effective. And then it would dawn on them that I used onions because I simply don't respect them. Anyway, it's someone from the press, and nice to meet you, Mr. Palooka. I'm Damian, Damian said, taking his hand. Then he giggled a little and added, ooh, strong grip. Strong grip. The reporter grinned. I aim to please, and call me Adam. Mr. Palooka is my dad. Damian giggled again. Adam chuckled. They made major eye contact. Jack is punching the air in the other world right now, except, you know, Jack's gay, so to PC cast, he's probably not capable of punching. It's probably like slapping the air and screeching like a silly woman or girl or something. Also, all gay people are attracted to one another. Did you guys not know this? I'll have to put it out as a PSA, I suppose. Look, Adam was cute, seriously cute, in a young, up-and-coming metrosexual guy way. Dark hair, dark eyes, good teeth, really good shoes, and a mad satchel. I can't take this book anymore. Which Stevie Ray and I spotted together. I'm going to be so gutted when I finish this. Our eyes telegraphed to each other. Potential boyfriend for Damian. Jump the gun much, you stage 5 clingers. They then ask if he has a girlfriend. He says no. And then they ask about a boyfriend. Leave the poor bloke alone. He's turned up to do a job and they are literally harassing him. Success was what I was thinking when Aphrodite snorted and said, oh, for shit's sake, this isn't the Bachelorette. I'm Aphrodite Lafont. Yes, the mayor is my father. Whoop-de-fucking-do. She wrapped her arm through Darius's. And this is my warrior, Darius. Adam's cute brow went up as he took in Aphrodite's school sweater, the sixth former insignia of the Free Fate sewn over her left breast pocket. Are human beings allowed to attend the House of Night? Everyone in Tulsa knows Aphrodite was marked because she's the mayor's daughter and they yelled about it from the rooftops and she was like infamous. And it's always brought up. And it's not the fact that, like, you know, she was marked and she's the mayor's daughter. It's not to my knowledge that it's now public knowledge that she was unmarked. However, it is canon that fledglings will conceal their tattoos with makeup. In fact, they do it later on in this book when out in human public. So why this reporter calls Aphrodite human, it's nonsensical. Also, like, he's a reporter. He would know that as the mayor's daughter, she's marked. Because they really didn't air it out that she got, like no one knows apart from, like, those few that Nyx can unmark fledglings. Like, it would have been more natural if he turned around and was like, oh, are you concealing your marks? That would make more sense. Then Thanatos shows up and they all start getting interviewed about the school, Dragon's funeral pyre, the stable fire. She tells the reporter that Dragon, leader of the warriors, got killed by a rogue bison. And the reporter believes it because he sucks at his job. Saying any of this out loud sounds so stupid. We shall all remember Dragon Langford's bravery for centuries to come. She dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief she'd pulled from within her sleeve. It was a really moving moment. Adam stood there looking empathetic as the cameraman swiveled the lens from Dragon's pyre to focus on Thanatos' grief and her very human struggle to pull herself together. It was really well staged. She made me wonder how many acting classes the High Priestess of Death had taken when she was a fledgling. Oh, sure, but Neferet is the sociopath for being a theatrical Maleficent. When Adam returned and officially began filming, I felt a flutter of nerves. Even my old friends at South Intermediate High School would see this. She had one friend, Kayla, who kept trying to sleep with Heath, so I don't know where this friends plural thing comes from. During the interview, Thanatos clarifies that when a high priestess loses her position, the job is gone for life, and Neferet is a disgruntled ex-employee. Then they turn to Stark being dangerous, which he is, and he explains about how his previous mentor accidentally died. We know all of this. Then they move on to Aphrodite, who explains that Nyx took her mark away. See, like, this is not... It's not public... Just literally just proved my fucking point. Wasn't public knowledge before. Outside of, like, these few fledglings and vampires. She explains that Nyx took her mark away and gave her a prophetic gift that she already had, whatever, because she got given a second chance. Pfft. Tortured unfairly, every book more like. Thankfully, Stevie Ray was not so mute. Speaking of amazing parents, my mum, Ginny Johnson, is going to make the best chocolate chip cookies in the known universe and bring them to the open house and bake sale we're having here real soon, right, Thanatos? Again, it's Stevie Ray 5. They then announced the bake sale plus charity event plus job fair, the whiplash of world-ending events contested via bake sale. Because we're all the same, I heard the words coming from my mouth and silently thanked Nyx for them. Guy, girl, human, vampire, what difference does it make? We're sharing Tulsa and we love it, so let's just all get along. My goodness, what in the Disney crap now? Why is it, again, I keep mentioning Harry Potter, I don't know why, guys. It was just really on my brain recently. But why is it that these series, which are clearly Harry Potter-esque wannabes, are always described, right? Like, literally, they are usually described on, like, if it's a series of 10, like, the first book on the blurb, you know, the quotes from, like, news articles, it always says something like Harry Potter, but grittier. But really, it's like Harry Potter, but worse, and grittier because they just swear more and do sex stuff. But then, at the same time, they say childish crap like this that wouldn't have even been written in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which was literally for, like, 8-year-olds. It's so weird. Chapter 14, Neferet, finally. Neferet would have not seen the press conference had she not called room service to her penthouse suite. The pleasingly subservient blonde boy who was almost young enough to interest her. The last bellboy who had had the good fortune to answer her summons would be calling in sick for the next few days. Weak and bruised, he would not remember anything except a fascination for her beauty and a series of dark, erotic dreams. Fever dreams, his doctor would no doubt call them. Humans were such frail creatures. Such a shame that she constantly needed to find a new plaything. Neferet studied this bellboy. He was tall and he looked extremely nervous. His skin was bad. He practically oozed virgin from his oversized pores. Thinking that virgin blood would mix nicely with the chilled bottle of champagne he was carrying past her, she motioned to her sitting room. Her insanity is legitimately one of the only redeeming things about this series. Luckily for the virgin, Neferet gets distracted by Thanatos' TV interview. She dares to name me an employee. Neferet continued to watch. Her anger built to such intensity that the glass door to the penthouse balcony burst open, raining shards of crystal across the marble floor. Me when I'm hangry. Then the vampire high council video called Neferet. It's all just so corporate and boring. You were summoned to appear before us, yet there you are in Tulsa, and here we are in Venice. What has delayed you? I am busy. Neferet pitched her voice to sound more amused than annoyed, or afraid. She must never allow them to believe she feared them, or anyone at all. It is not convenient to make a trip to Italy at this time. Then you force us to pass judgment over you in absenti Rio. Neferet scoffed. Save your Latin for vampires too old to live in the present. She is so funny, I'm right. They all go, Neferet is the white bull of darkness your consort, and she's like, what about it? Like it's hard. And they're all like, yo, what the fuck, dude? Aletheia, or truth, as we would say in a language that isn't dead. I will impart a little of your own to you. The truth is that I am immortal. In a little over 100 years, I have attained more power than all of you in all of your centuries have managed to acquire. The truth is that in another 100 years, most of you will be dust, and I will be young, powerful, beautiful, and a goddess. If I choose to sacrifice a human, no matter for what purpose, it is sacred and not sin. I'm Team Neferet. Screw it. Let her. The rest of you suck. High Council, what is your judgment? Duantia asked. She held Neferet's gaze as each of the High Council members stood, and one at a time pronounced the same word over and over. Shunned. Duantia stood last. Shunned, she said firmly. From this day forth, you will no longer be recognized as a high priestess of Nyx. You will no longer be recognized as a vampire at all. Henceforth, you are dead to us. As one, the High Council members turned their backs to Neferet. Then the scream bleeps the call ended sound and the picture went blank. That is so dramatic and also completely useless. Like, that does nothing about the problem. Nothing. They're just like, oh, not our problem anymore. You're now immortal and like basically a demigod at this point. But we'll just ignore you and pray the problem goes away. Let's all pray to Nyx. It does nothing. I am so Team Neferet. She's the only person getting shit done around here. Horrid old crones, she ranted. Pff, real. Like, think about it. The High Council sit around in their private island in Italy. Why is it always Italy? Are vampires originally Italian or something? They sit around doing nothing but being rich. Neferet is rising up against the bourgeoisie. Zoe caused Thanatos to be sent to Tulsa to spy on me, and it was Zoe's mother who was too weak, too imperfect to sacrifice. Had Aurox not been a cracked vessel, the reveal ritual would have been stopped by Raphaim's death, and now I am shunned by the High Council and viewed as a domesticated ally by Tulsa humans. Neferet raised her arms to the sky and shrieked her anger. Zoe Redbird will pay for what she has caused. Neferet reached down and ripped the silk robe from her, bearing her body to the night. Naked, she threw out her arms and tilted it back at her head so that her long hair veiled her like a dark curtain. Come to me, darkness, she braced herself, ready for the painful pleasure of her white bull's icy touch. Oh, sure. When she does it, it's dramatic and erotic, but when I do it, it's I'm making a scene on the bus. Pfft. Are you joking? I would never take the bus. Darkness refuses to come to her, and Neferet is like, ugh, let me kill Zoe already. Give me more power now. But then Darkness starts negging her. You disappoint me. I expected you to call me and beg me for aid. You see, my heartless one, I should not be able to predict your actions. That bores me, and I have no desire to waste my powers on predictability and tedium. The voice battered relentlessly at her mind. Neferet did not flinch. Rude. So he's like, surprise me more, and then I'll help you, and then he leaves. On one hand, stupid logic. On the other hand, if you were immortal, you'd probably want surprises too. If the bull would not help her, Neferet would help herself. Zoe Redbird had been a problem for far too long. Far too long she had allowed that child to interfere with her plans. She would not kill her though. That would bring down the wrath of Nyx too soon. Unlike the Vampire High Council, a goddess could not be ignored. No, Neferet thought, I need not kill Zoe. All I need to do is create a being to do the job for me. The vessel failed once because of an imperfect sacrifice. With the perfect sacrifice, I will not fail. Bro, if you create something that kills Zoe, that still counts as you killing her and Nyx would still shit a brick over it. She is 100% a cartoon villain who needs an elaborate, easily foiled plan. Zoe. Damian and Adam are still flirting. He has soft, pretty colours, Shaylin said. Actually, they go really well, Damian's. What? Are their rainbows merging? Aphrodite snorted sarcastically. Shaylin frowned. They don't have rainbow colours. That's such a horrible stereotype. Hey, Shaylin, screw you. You don't get to exist in a book that constantly calls Damian she, camp, girl, queen, whatever, and then act as though Aphrodite's funny joke is offensive. Screw off and take your auras with you. Oh, for shit's sake. It has no sense of humour at all, Aphrodite said. Aphrodite, you gotta stop calling Shaylin it. It's not nice, Stevie Ray said. So for future reference, how not nice is it on the slur mean word scale? She lifted a questioning blonde brow at Stevie Ray. Is it more... I can't say any of those. You're the high priestess, but I say answering her at all just encourages her. You know, like what happens when you pick up a screaming toddler. They keep on screaming, Shaylin said, sounding very matter of fact. All I could think was, holy crap. Aphrodite is going to yank her hair out by the roots. Instead, Aphrodite laughed. Hey, it made a joke. It might actually have a personality. I'm okay with calling Shayla it, but we probably should stamp down on all of that other stuff that I couldn't say out loud. Then they see Shawnee and Erin fighting. There's something wrong about her, Shaylin said. Who her? Stevie Ray asked. Erin, Shaylin said. Shaylin's right. There's something wrong about Erin. Aphrodite said... What stupid dialogue. I couldn't tell which shocked me more, what Aphrodite and Shaylin were saying, or that they were agreeing with each other. Aphrodite is the best, most observant character and doesn't need to cheat by seeing auras. Shaylin says Erin's aura is changing. It looks like nice water, but underneath it's dirty and polluted. Aphrodite explains there's clearly something wrong with Erin, and Damian appears. We have to talk about Erin. Old doesn't equate to inaccurate, Damian said. You translated what Shaylin envisioned. That means you're acting as an oracle. What, like the one in the Matrix? Anyway, Damian has a date with Adam at a coffee shop that started saying open 24/7, and everyone is like, OMG, late night day for them. Coffee, and they all arranged to go later on, and this better be important, like Zoe's gut literally tells her that they should go to the coffee shop at some point. It's not referenced at all in the rest of this book, so by the next book, they better go to this coffee shop. I would definitely reconnoiter, whatever, for you. Then Damian's expression dimmed. So what do you think? Would Jack hate me? Oh, honey, no, I said quickly. Of course he wouldn't. Jack would understand, Stevie Ray added. He won't want you to be sad and lonely while you waited for him to come back round. He will, won't he? Damian stared in my eyes. Jack will come back round, right? Their souls are meant to meet again, the words whispered through my mind. Recognizing the wise, familiar voice of Nyx, I smiled, twining my arm through Damian's. He will, I promise, and so does the goddess. So Jack is just being a cuck in the other world, and also like, what? So this Adam bloke is literally just a placeholder for when his soulmate comes round again. Crazy work, isn't it? Like, imagine Adam's like, is his name Adam? I've forgotten already. But imagine he's like, wow, this Damian vampire guy is my soulmate, and they get married and like, I don't know, adopt some vampire kids or whatever together. And he's like, you are the soulmate, you're the love of my life, and hopefully our spirits will meet again in the other world, because humans also go there too. And Damian's actually like, nah, Jack was my soulmate which, that would be fucking crazy, right? Like, imagine he spends, because Adam's a human, so imagine he spends the next 50 years with this dude, and they have kids and a family, but he's like, no, the guy that I was with for 3 months at school, that's my real soulmate. Do you know what, everyone, leave me alone. This book is stupid. I like how Nyx will talk to Zoe about something as mundane as Damian getting a date, but wouldn't tell the High Council the truth about Neferet. Or tell Aphrodite about her powers changing. Damian and Stevie Ray made noises in absolute agreement with me as we approached the bus. I could see the kids' faces in the window. It looked like it was full, which made me feel a giant rush of relief because I was more than ready to go home. Stark was there, standing at the top of the stairs beside Darius. His eyes found me, and his gaze made my skin feel tingly and warm. Rafane was sitting in the first seat right in front of Kramisha, and I could practically feel Stevie Ray's vibrating with joy as she waved at him. Shaylin and Aphrodite were climbing the stairs. I couldn't see Aphrodite's face, but the toss of her hair said she was already flirting with her warrior. Okay, darkness was a pain in the butt, and hard things had happened to us, but at least we were together, and we had love. Always love. It is so forced. It has been always love has been repeated about like 10 times too many. I'm going to spit teeth in rage by the end of this. Erin then talks to Zoe and says she's staying at the house at night and is sick of living in the tunnels with them. Zoe tries to be a manager at What? Let's see where I'm going with this. Zoe tries to be a manager at a Tesco's by saying, but we are a family here. I get what I was talking about. And Erin is like, "Oh, no, we are not." But Aphrodite tells Zoe to let Erin leave, so she does. Zoe talks to Shawnee about how cold and detached Erin is now, and Shawnee points out that Nicole now shows more emotions than Erin, as Nicole is currently sitting near a fountain crying. They should invite her to the tunnels at some point, don't you think? "I like you better without Erin," I said honestly. "I do too," Shawnee said. "I do too." Please, they were both mean bullies together. One of them just magically grew a conscience because the other pissed off the author somehow. Chapter 15. For God's sake. Grandma Redbird. How is it the author has time to write all of these POVs, yet completely forgot Zoe has a human brother and sister who now don't have a mum or a stepdad or even their own grandma? They have also been lost to the sands of time and shit fiction. Her daughter was dead, and though she would feel Linda's loss for the rest of this lifetime, Sylvia knew that she was finally free of the wasteland her daughter's life had become. Linda rested in the other world with Nyx, content and pain-free. The knowledge made the old woman smile. How easy. Sitting at her crafting desk in the workroom of her cottage, she hummed an ancient Cherokee lullaby. Oh yeah, which one? Name 5. Anyway, she's doing whatever, mystical, magical stuff, of course, and she talks to herself out loud about Zoe Aurox, as you do. It was only when she completed the weaving of grass and lavender that she realised the song she hummed had changed from lullaby to a much different tune. Song for a woman who was brave in war. I half take back my previous snarking. You have 4 more to name. Then she notices she's weaving a goddess bundle. I don't know what that is, but it's a warning, so she listens and gets changed, okay, and starts smudging herself, and Neferet appears. I saw that one coming. Neferet. Sylvia Redbird's voice sounded like a chalk screeching on a blackboard. By your own belief system, it's impolite to not welcome a guest. Neferet raised her voice so she could be heard over the old woman's horrible song. She really called Sylvia a shit singer, huh? So funny. Sylvia is all, "See skilly, you broke an oath to mentor and protect Zoe, so you owe me one." And Neferet is all, "I'm immortal, what are you going to do?" So Sylvia calls her a witch and says she also owes her a debt for killing her daughter. The old woman paid no attention to her. Instead, she paused in her dance long enough to bend and place the smoking herbs at her feet. She lifted her face and opened her arms as if embracing the sky. "Great Earth Mother, hear me. I am Sylvia Redbird, wise woman of the Cherokee and Gigao of my tribe. That of the House of Night. I beg mercy from you. The sea skili, Neferet, who was once a high priestess of Nyx, is forsworn. She owes me an oath-breaking debt. She is also the murderess of my daughter. She owes me a life debt. I invoke your aid, Earth Mother, and call both debts due. The payment I demand is protection." It'll be crazy if this works, because if it's this easy, why doesn't everyone just act like this? Instead, her dark eyes matched Neferet's gaze steadily. "You are no goddess. You are a mean-spirited, broken little girl. I pity you. What happened to you? Who broke you, child?" The patronizing infantilizing. I am on Team Neferet. Neferet then tries to attack Sylvia, but Sylvia is protected by turquoise stone bangles on her arms, so she ends up getting hurt, and then she uses the power of her darkness tendrils to trap Sylvia in a cage and carries her away. Aurox. Aurox leaves his pit of despair and drives over to Sylvia's and realizes that she's gone and can smell the darkness and blood, and realizes that Neferet is up to no good again. He works out Neferet will kill Redbird to make a new weapon and hurt Zoe, and decides to save her himself. So then he drives back to the House of Night and bumps into Zoe, and Stark shits himself. Chapter 16. Zoe. Stark starts beating Aurox up and Zoe tries to stop it, but as always, no one listens to her, even though she is Nyx's chosen one and does have Nyx telling her what to do all the time. It looked disgusting and made my stomach roll. This thing cannot be my Heath. The seer stone was wrong. I put my hand over the stone and pressed it against my chest. Nothing. It wasn't even warm. I'd made a mistake. It had just been another mess up by me. I could barely think through the rush of sadness I felt. Why don't you just ask Nyx then? Or can Nyx only comment upon Damian's dating preferences? Aphrodite comes in to talk sense to people. Shaylin says Aurox has the colour of moonlight, which makes Aphrodite think of Nyx, and therefore they should let Aurox speak. "Don't you move." Stark ground between his teeth. Aphrodite for once listened to Darius and back off. Do you not remember what he changed into? Why don't you, for once, listen to the only 2 women who basically have direct access to Nyx more than anyone else in the entire history of vampires? Because, you know, Nyx has, like, made herself visible to Aphrodite, what, once or twice? It's more than anyone else gets in this book. Aurox finally spits out that Grandma Redbird is in danger. I felt like Aurox had punched me in the gut. Stark was stepping on the back of Aurox's neck, forcing his face into the ground and yelling something about Grandma. Good thing, yet again, good thing Stark doesn't overreact to everything. Then Colona appears ready to smash and beat up Aurox, but Thanatos stops him. After all, There's no tension, quite like a forced misunderstanding that could be resolved within 2 or 3 direct questions. They use the elements to mask themselves from the other students, and Aurox tells them Sylvia and Neferet took Sylvia, and he tells them everything. No human is that forgiving. Even a goddess would find it difficult to forgive one such as you, said Colona's dead cold voice. A goddess forgave me, Rephaim said softly, and I have done worse things than Aurox. Grandma named him Bull. She makes chocolate chip and lavender cookies, I said, and those are her handmade moccasins too. Which means you have been at her house and that she talked to you, Stark said. But it doesn't mean you didn't do something terrible to her and then steal her stuff. Getting a whole lot of judgment here from 2 of the 3 rapists. Also, the worst thing Aurox has done is be forced by Neferet to kill Dragon, so it wasn't even his fault, and it's nowhere near the crimes Rephaim and Colona have committed, so lay off of him. Then Aurox accidentally calls Zoe Zoe, which was Heath's nickname for her, and everyone gets arsey yet again. Grow up. Damn right you don't, Stark said. So like Zoe said, don't ever call her Zoe again. You couldn't even wipe the shoes of the guy who used to call her that. Neither could you sex offender. I'm missing the dumb himbo that is Heath. This is probably high drama for an idiot somewhere or a young teen who will hopefully go on to abandon this for Tolstoy, Austin, I don't know, anything. Colona says she probably took Grandma to her penthouse in a hotel in Tulsa. Then we need to go to her penthouse and make her let Grandma go, I said. Hang on, Stark said. How do we know he's not making this all up as a way for us to go after Neferet? Because all the women with far more powers than you can see he's not lying, or is a woman's word not good enough for the sex offender? So then they call Grandma and there's no answer, so Aurox swears an oath Neferet is behind it, and then Zoe swears an oath to kill him if he has anything to do with it, and Colona says he will rescue Grandma. Neferet loathes me, but that does not change the fact that she desires me. Really? That's not how it looks to everyone else. Neferet's moved on, Stark continued. Her consort's the White Bull. Colona smiled sardonically at Stark. You are young and know little of women. Ha! Then Shawnee pipes up that Erin has probably told Dallas everything and Dallas has relayed the same info to Neferet. Here's what I think, Aphrodite said. I think we all need to keep our mouths shut about what's going on with Grandma Redbird and Aurox and our business in general. If you're not part of this group, then you don't know shit. Erin's just one kid, but what she knows could definitely mess us up. Prophetess, it sounds as if there is a lesson to be learned in what you're saying, Thanatos said, and the rest of us nodded. Yeah, no shit, Thanatos. I think Thanatos is like fake woke. I just stood there, staring at Colona, remembering what a lying, manipulative killer he had been, and thinking that's who's going to save my grandma. I was blinking back freaked out tears when Refrain whispered my name. I looked over at him. He smiled and mouthed 2 small words. People change. Colona killed Heath. That's 3 small words for you. Chapter 17. Shaylin. Ugh. Look at all of this following shit and know that I am firmly on Aphrodite's side. Also, Shaylin has been marked for all of 5 seconds and it's already like nix this, nix that. Here, now. Aphrodite crooked her finger at Shaylin, motioning for her to follow. She did her twitchy walk, cutting across the grass and heading in the general direction of the fledglings' dorms. Shaylin sighed, squelched her irritation, and followed the annoying blonde. As she caught up with her, Aphrodite was already talking. Okay, I need you to reconnoiter. Okay, you need to grow some manners, Shaylin said. Aphrodite stopped and narrowed her eyes to blue slits. You should know that look is unattractive and it causes crow's feet. Shaylin spoke quickly before Aphrodite could say something mean and smart-arsey. Been talking to Damian, haven't you? Maybe, Shaylin answered vaguely, not wanting to get Damian any trouble. But yeah, the truth was she had been talking to him. Actually, she'd started to really like Damian, as well as Stevie Ray and Zoe. Aphrodite, though, she was a different story. Aphrodite, really. It looks like you and I might have to work together, or whatever you'd call this prophetess stuff. So it would make both our lives easier if you could at least be polite to me. No, it would make your life easier. Mine, it wouldn't change at all. Shaylin shook her head. Really? Why don't you run that attitude past Nyx? We have major darkness to fight. Zoe's mum was just killed and now her grandma's in serious danger. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Zoe a friend of yours? Aphrodite's eyes narrowed again, but she said only one word. Yes. Then how about you do everything you can to help her? I am doing that, Aphrodite snapped. How can you be so sure? Did you ever consider the fact that maybe if you were less hateful, you'd have access to more of your prophetess gifts? Aphrodite's eyes unnarrowed slowly. She even looked a little surprised. No, I've never considered that. Shaylin threw her hands up in frustration. Jeesh, were you raised by wolves? Sort of, Aphrodite said, but they had money. Aphrodite is the only character who gets tortured by Nyx and is expected to call it a gift. Also, Shaylin is just annoying, so she can do one. Oh. Shaylin then says when she was mean to Aphrodite earlier, her true sight got all runny and indistinct until she apologized. Nyx doesn't meddle, my asshole. She gives them gifts and then demands they use them her way or else, except for Erin. Erin has water and has joined the dark side, but Nyx is fine with that. What is this inconsistency? Also, the fact that Aphrodite has never betrayed Zoe but got her mark stolen away from her. Taken away from her, stolen. She got her mark stolen away from her because she didn't immediately like Zoe when she first met her. But Erin can betray Zoe, etc., to Neferet, indirectly via Dallas. But she has got off scot-free so far. Powers intact. Puh. Anyway, Aphrodite and Shaylin bicker, and Aphrodite tells Shaylin to go spy on Erin and Dallas and look at their auras. She even says, please. Shaylin shook her head. Total nut job, she muttered to herself as she made her way back to the girls' dorm. Nyx, I don't know you very well, and I don't want you to think I'm rude or blasphemous or something like that. But Aphrodite as your prophetess? Why? Wow, you're questioning Nyx's judgment? That's bold of you. Shaylin jumped in surprise as Eric Knight stepped away from the shadows of a nearby oak tree. This fucking guy. Why is he always creeping around in the shadows? Her first view of him was always the same. His absolute total tall dark handsomeness was obvious and distracting. But then she got a glimpse of his colours and they weren't nearly as attractive. Shaylin had decided he was like one of those gorgeously painted pieces of pottery that you'd like to use to toss a salad in or whatever. But if you flip the piece over, you'd see the warning, do not use to serve food label. That is oddly specific. I don't hate it. I'm just saying it's oddly specific. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll let you get back to your procrastination. See ya. Hey, he touched her arm just for a moment as she walked past him, coaxing her to pause. I thought we were friends. Ugh, he is such a where's my hug at guy. Anyway, his aura is better too. Wow. So, I guess now, if PC Cast needs someone to develop their character, Shaylin can just magically read their aura and no one has to actually put any work in. Brilliant. Shaylin tried to not look nervous and blurted, yeah, we are friends, but that's all. I didn't ask for anything else, did I? Shaylin met his eyes. They were bright and blue and spent way too much time wandering south to her boobs. Anyway, he tells her he's stuck at the Tulsa House of Night as a tracker and can't transfer because his blood keeps him there, and he walks her to the dorms. Eric. He had to keep reminding himself to stop looking at Shaylin's boobs. Okay, but in his defense, she was wearing a white t-shirt that was sheer enough that it was obvious she had a hot pink bra under it, and that bra had little black bows in the middle part and on the straps. What the hell kind of a defense is that? So, which play will you teach in the Shakespeare class? She was asking him. Look at her face and concentrate. Shakespeare class? She is also one of his students, I hasten to add. He talks Shakespeare to distract from his students' boobs. Probably, but teaching isn't as easy as you'd think. There's a bunch of crap that goes on behind the scenes, and that's not counting the battle of darkness that seems to be never-ending, and the annoying fact that professors keep getting killed and more fledglings are getting marked, so we're short-staffed. There was a long, uncomfortable silence, then Shaylin said, yeah, it must be real inconvenient for you that the professors have been disemboweled and decapitated and gored, not to mention all the new red fledglings you have to teach because we haven't died yet, for real, yet. Eric frowned. He hadn't meant it like that, not really. So she gets annoyed over this, and it's quite forced, not gonna lie. She is being oversensitive. She's not even known any of the professors or other fledglings who have died yet, so I don't know where she's getting on her high horse from. I really didn't mean what I said before. I was just venting. You know, girls do it all the time, Eric said. Eric, you're not making it any better by being a misogynist. Misogynist? That's bad, right? Nothing cool? Like a gynecologist. He's not even being a misogynist here. He was being a misogynist when he kept calling Aphrodite a slut for zero reasons, but you wouldn't care about that, would you? In fact, most of them have called Aphrodite a hoe, a skanky hoe, a slut, whatever, but we've only ever seen her be with Eric and then Darius, whereas everyone else has jumped from boy to boy, or girl to girl, or boy to boy to boy to girl, continuously. So why is Aphrodite always getting shit for nothing? Actually, I don't think anyone is bisexual in this. Maybe I lied. Anyway, somehow this works and she starts laughing and then she falls off a step like an idiot. So Eric catches her and then he thinks about her bra more and he tries to kiss her. So she whacks him and Dallas and Erin are just there. Damn, talk about mixed messages, Dallas said. First she's all over you, then she's shoving you away. That just ain't right. Yeah, when a girl says yes, she should mean yes and not, hey, I think I'll tease you and then reject you, Erin air quoted. Now, there's some misogyny from Erin, but that is too complicated for PC Cast to understand. Hey man, Dallas chuckled. Don't worry, my mermaid and I will let everyone know what a dick tease she is. Eric tried to interrupt him, but Dallas just kept on talking. No, you don't need to thank me. Just consider it a favour from one vamp to another. Eric glanced up at Shaylin. Her face had gone from pink to white. He did consider it. Just for a second, though. It would be easier to laugh and walk off with Dallas and Erin. It might even make him feel as cool as it used to feel when he was the hottest fledgling at the school, when he could have any girl he wanted. Then he realised what he was thinking and felt sick to his stomach. What a loser. He's older than all of them now. Like, he's a man in vampire terms now. And he's a professor. Get a life, Eric. It is literally just one thing after another in the house of sexual assault. Eric does actually defend Shaylin. It only took about 10 books for him not to be a total loser. You expect people to believe a little freak like her turned you down? Erin didn't even try to cover the spitefulness in her voice. And I used to dream about being in the center of a twin sandwich. Goddess, I am a dick. Ugh. Yeah, it's time for us to go. I'm bored, Erin said. I got something for that. Dallas bit her neck. Erin's squeal turned into a throaty laugh. And I won't be saying yes, no, yes, no. I'll just be saying yes, yes. Erin sneered at Shaylin. Wow, you really showed her. Then they leave and Shaylin tells Eric that they can hang out again, but he has to wait for her to say yes to kiss her. As Shaylin walked away, Eric's smile got bigger and bigger. It wasn't his 100-watt smile. That one was acting happy. This smile was better. It was feeling happy. And for the first time in a long time, Eric Knight realised feeling was way better than acting. What? As if Mr. the next big actor is now going to give up his lifelong dream for some girl he barely knows. Behave. Chapter 18, Colona. Zoe said nothing before they left. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. She just sat on the bus while everyone else talked and collected their school books and finished loading the bus. But he could feel her eyes watching him. He felt her mistrust through them. He also felt her hope. I am her only chance at getting her grandmother back alive, Colona thought as the school bus disappeared down Utica Street. She could have at least wished me luck. You killed Heath, you big nonce. Thanatos then asked Nyx to watch over Colona, and he feels her presence and is a quivering mess. Wherever Nyx turned her immortal attention, there followed magic and light, power and laughter, joy and love. Always love. I'm about to start throwing hands. Always hands. So giddy over Nyx, Colona flies off to rescue the grandma. Neferet was a lusty creature. She craved men, but even more than the physical pleasure she took from a man's body, Neferet craved lording dominion over men. The white bull could give her power, but a bull was not a man. What? She's evil for being a dominatrix and not being subservient to men? Pfft. She calls him a winged failure. Based. Neferet tilted her head. She hadn't moved from the shadows. Even when she's by herself, she's just lurking around in the shadows like a weirdo. Look again, goddess. Gaze on your consort. I see you. You are not as young as I remembered. Then he gets pissed off because she calls him old. Colona sees now she's a conduit for evil and has lost any mortality she once had. I just remembered all that stuff about Zoe being reincarnated from a Native American clay maiden called Aya, who was created to be perfect for Colona, and how it's not mentioned at all anymore. Colona tries to seduce Neferet, and then he has a freak out. He had expected her to know about his oath to Thanatos, and he had an answer ready. The only mistress I can truly serve is a goddess, and if my goddess would forgive me, I would do anything she asked of me. Colona had thought his continued play on words would be amusing. Neferet would believe he spoke of her, and actually he could be talking about any of the female deities. How many goddesses are there? But the moment he said the words, the truth of Colona's statement rippled through his body, causing him to gasp and lurch away from the creature who stood before him. The games he had been playing with himself for eons ended with that one sentence. I was created to serve one goddess and one goddess only. Neferet embodied the opposite of everything Nyx represented. With his back to Neferet, Colona buried his face in his hands. How could I have ever thought she or any other woman could supplant Nyx's place in my heart? I have spent centuries as a broken shell of myself, attempting to fill what was missing within me through violence and lust and power. Nothing has worked. What a big baby. These are the most pathetic immortals I've ever seen. Then Nyx touches him and he's all OMG, and Neferet is like, very well, you can love me again, but you must kidnap Zoe for me. But Colona freezes up and doesn't want to bang Neferet. Literally, no one told him he had to do that anyway, because he misses Nyx too much and he's forgotten about rescuing Sylvia. But then he sees Sylvia cocooned in darkness that's been cutting her up and torturing her, but her blood is undrinkable because of some ancient earth power protective spell. I don't know, man. I just read this shit. Don't expect me to understand it. Colona feeds Neferet some lie about getting in on the High Council to cause dissent on her behalf, and then they start bickering. pain Zoe caused you? Colona shook his head in disbelief. You leave chaos and pain in your wake. Zoe does not antagonize you. You attack her. I know. You have used me to hurt her. I knew you lied. I have always known you've loved her. Your sweet, special little Aya reborn. Oh, look at that. It did get mentioned. He tells her they've outgrown Tulsa and should go to Capri and rule there instead. And she's like, okay, cool. Let's do a blood oath then to make you serve me. And then Neferet tells Darkness to kill Refame. Refame was there in bird form on the balcony the whole time. Anyway, Colona jumps in front of the Darkness and absorbs the spell instead. And Neferet loses her shit at all of his lying and starts throwing Darkness at him. And he's all, I was allied with Darkness for centuries. They will listen to me, but they don't. And they start feeding from him like leeches. He probably had it coming. Chapter 19, Colona. Chapter 19, Colona. So realizing that this means he really has chosen a different path because Darkness won't listen to him anymore, he starts ripping the tendrils up, but Neferet casts a spell, getting the tendrils to utilize the blood they drink from Colona into overpowering Sylvia's turquoise bands that are protecting her from Neferet, and the tendrils start attacking Sylvia with their stolen power, so she starts singing her death song and it is all kicking off. Colona keeps breaking the tendrils, but more reform for everyone killed, like a hydra. So the longer he stays, the more the Darkness steals his blood and power to attack Sylvia. So Colona is forced to leave defeated. He goes back to the house at night and starts berating a statue of Nyx. Why, he asks the statue, why did you accept my oath and allow me to walk your path again at the moment it cost me dominion over Darkness? Now I've had to allow Neferet to defeat me. I had to leave a kind old woman entrapped and tortured. I failed. Why accept me just to allow me to fail? Free choice. Thanatos' voice carried the power of authority and command. You know even better than I what that means. Yes, Colona continued to gaze up at the statue as he spoke. It means Nyx does not stop us when we make mistakes, even if it costs us and those around us dearly. Oh yeah, that free will, except from when Nyx needs to make Zoe do something. Anyway, he tells Thanatos and she's like, well, at least you fulfilled your oath to fight Darkness. What now? We cannot allow Neferet to torture the old woman. She plans to control Zoe through her grandmother. Zoe will be a powerful ally for Darkness to gain, even if she was being used against her will. Thanatos shook her head sadly. Warrior, all that you have said is true, but you have missed the point. The point? Neferet cannot be allowed to torture an old woman because it is inhumane. If you understood that, Nyx would not be so unreachable. Man tries to learn empathy, challenge impossible. A never-ending stream of idiots in this book. Aurox appears to say, hey, he understands empathy. Colona strode to him, grabbed him by the scruff of his shirt, tossed him to the ground at the statue's feet. You could not even stop yourself from killing Dragon. You attacked Refame. You cannot fight Darkness, you foolish creature. No matter what your brave words and your oh so noble intent, you were created from Darkness. And yet I do not have to be told that an old woman's life is not only important because of how her granddaughter could be used. Aurox hurled back at him. Ha! Get bent. Colona is like, but he's made from Darkness, and Thanatos is like, yes, that's it, Eureka. And everyone's confused, but it's obvious, isn't it? Aurox is made from Darkness. Maybe he will be able to stop the Darkness tendrils. Duh. Zoe. I couldn't sleep. All I could do was worry about Grandma. I tried not to think about everything that Neferet could be doing to her, but my mind was filled with images of Grandma being hurt, or worse. Neferet could have killed her. Stop thinking that, Stark had told me sternly when he and I curled up in bed together. You don't know that's happened, and you're driving yourself crazy thinking it. Stop reading her thoughts. Zoe, have you tried having a bake sale? Would a bake sale maybe help this situation? She's very upset, as you can imagine. If Neferet had Grandma, it was my fault. I was the one who'd gotten marked and caused a bomb to explode in my human family. Surely it's Nyx's fault then for marking you in the first place, isn't it? So she cries and snots and goes, Nyx, where are you? Help me. So Nyx shows up. Then grow up, daughter. Be a woman, a high priestess, not a child. You're the one who keeps marking teenagers. Anyway, assuming the author understands grammar, this is a passive-aggressive burn because Nyx didn't even capitalize daughter when addressing Zoe directly, meaning she's just a generic daughter, or one of many, not a specific one addressed as though by name. Nyx probably needs to just call her chosen ones by number. Like, buck up, number 8. Burp. Number 8. I'm not burping. Burp. Number 8. Burp. Directly across from me, an image began to surface. As if I was looking into a pool of dark water, something started to form and lift from the concave depths. It was the figure of a woman. Oh yeah, this bit is just like so rogue. Under normal circumstances, I would have described her as fat. She was naked and had enormous boobs, wide soft hips and thick thighs. Her hair floated around her as full and dark as her body. She was absolutely and completely beautiful, every single pound and curve of her, which totally made me rethink my idea of fat. Don't need to explain that one, do I? She opened her eyes, and I saw that they were amethyst crystals, kind and warm and the colour of violets. Nyx! Yes, Yuetzia Gaia. That is one of my names, though your ancestors would know me as Earth Mother. You're my grandma's goddess too? She smiled, and it was hard for me to keep looking directly at her because she was so incredibly lovely. I do know Sylvia Redbird. I'm confused. It's Nyx, but it's a different interpretation of her, but it's the same person, right? Just dull vampire lore. She essentially tells Zoe to grow up and take action, doesn't give her any pointers beyond that, and then disappears, which is exactly as useful as the live, laugh, love philosophy they've been using thus far, so that does track. So Zoe wakes everyone up, and Thanatos, Colona, Aurox, etc. appear. They tell her he wasn't successful in rescuing Grandma, and Aurox is the one to save Sylvia instead. Chapter 20, Zoe. Aurox says darkness won't feed from him, and if he can't command the tendrils, he can vanquish them anyway, and Thanatos says they need to teach Aurox to control himself so he doesn't change into a mad bull. I hope there's a Rocky-style training montage to Eye of the Tiger, Eye of the Bull. And that is why we are here. We must teach Aurox to control this change, at least long enough for him to break through the cage of darkness that binds Sylvia Redbird so he can throw her from the balcony of Neferet's lair. Throw her? My voice squeaked, but there wasn't much I could do about that. I felt like my head was going to explode. I will hover there and catch her and fly her to safety, Colona said. That is insane. I love it. Yeet the grandma. This is the plan of a child playing with action figures. Hurl that pensioner. So their amazing plan for getting him to control the bull is to cause him pain. Aurox. So because Aurox feeds on anger, Colona, Stark and Darius all get mad and start attacking him. He manages to control himself but purely by being defensive. So then they get him to fight back while also remaining in human form, but Aurox is struggling, so Zoe gets everyone to cast a circle and Aphrodite gets Shaylin to take Erin's place, water, because Aphrodite knew Shaylin was suited for it, and Shaylin looked at her own aura in a mirror and sees shades of blue. This was definitely a last minute arse pull, wasn't it? When she stood before the true sight fledgling, she took longer, saying, Water, you are ever changeable, always adapting. You have been called to this circle and manifested many times for your fledgling, Erin Bates. But that fledgling has, like water, changed and adapted to another environment. This new daughter of Nyx stands here, open and excited to accept your gifts. As High Priestess, I invite you to this circle. Come, Water, and show Shaylin she may be blessed to be. Why on earth does water require this exposition dumping? So the elements help Aurox retain humanity, yada yada, and Aurox is so happy he twirls Zoe around, but then she ignores him so Stark can't shit himself in jealousy. They plan to cast a small circle in the restaurant the hotel Neferet is staying at because Neferet will probably attack them if they all barge into her room. Where will we be? Stark asked, not looking happy at all. Outside, watching over the nerd herd so that some street crazy doesn't stagger into, say, Queen Damian and cause him to shriek, drop his candle, and mess everything up, Aphrodite said. I would not drop my candle, Damian said. What if he smelled really, really bad and you thought he had lice? Aphrodite said. Ew, Damian said and shuddered. Now that is simply charming. So many points here about the casual dismissal of homeless people as human beings, and once again depicting the gay character as a prissy queen despite being old enough to behave like an adult, whatever. Chapter 21, Zoe. They wait until dusk. And then, of course, add to everything the fact that Aurox was crouched up in tower number 1, hiding, waiting until we come back and pick him right before we start. Sounds clumsy. Could change it to waiting until we came back to pick him up, but I'm not an editor, so ignore me. So yeah, I had one humongous headache, and I was working on some serious IBS. Someone having the shits at inopportune moments is not interesting if their character is otherwise completely flat. Force of habit. Thank God the IBS isn't sexualized in this book. Not hungry, I started, but Aphrodite cut me off. She'd love a bowl. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You never eat breakfast, I said, frowning at her. Aphrodite raised her half-empty champagne flute and mock-toasted me. I choose to drink my breakfast, and I do that every day. Orange juice is brain food, and champagne is a brain cell killer, Shaylin said for a mouthful of Lucky Charms. I like to think of it as a way the goddess levels the playing field. Consider for a moment how ridiculously much smarter I would be than all of you if I didn't drink heavily. Me when I was an active alcoholic. Then Aphrodite starts roasting everyone. And I think your hair is flawed. Is that early male pattern balding I see? Damian gasped. I sighed. Don't be such a meanie pants, Stevie Ray told Aphrodite. Then she handed me a bowl of cereal. Speaking of pants, the waist of those bumpkin nightmare roper jeans you have on stay is so high it couldn't pass a drug test, Aphrodite quipped as she refilled her mimosa. I think Stevie Ray looks cute, Shaylin said. Of course you do. And tomorrow you'll probably be wearing 2 different shoes because that's the kind of refined fashion taste you have. Heh. They decide they have to act normal and go to school so Dallas and Erin don't tip Neferet off. I don't think their world is worth saving. It's certainly not better than whatever Neferet has planned for them. Anyway, I'm sure all the endless bickering is from a place of always love. Cramisha turns up with another poem for Zoe alone and Stark gets huffy. Cramisha shook her head. I have 3 words for that boy. Controlling. That wasn't free, and also controlling was spelt wrong there. He's just trying to keep me safe, that's all. Cramisha snorted. Yeah, that's what my auntie's second husband said before he backhanded her across the room for looking at him wrong. Stark is not going to hit me, Cramisha. Well, Cramisha reads out the poem to her. Ancient mirror, magic mirror, shades of grey, hidden, forbidden, within, away, part the mist, magic kissed. Cool the fae, reveal the past, the spell is cast, I saved the day. The day will be saved by teenagers wielding love and shitty rhymes, just let them all die. I said, I like it that it's saying you're going to save the day. More clumsiness. This was probably I like it says you're going to save the day originally, but when it was edited, they forgot to take out the first it. Read your work, people. Cramisha tells her when Zoe needs to speak the poem out loud because it sounds like a spell rather than just a poem. If you say so. Her comment seemed appropriate because I felt like I was following the yellow brick road and some serious flying monkey ball poopy, which I suppose made Aurox Glinda the good witch of the west. Me? I was pretty sure I'd be the cowardly lion. If only we could get you courage, a heart and a brain. You could probably harvest the heart and brain from that homeless guys you dismissed earlier. They go to class because this is meant to be about school, isn't it? House of Night. You'd totally forget it in between all of the bickering and tedious nothing that was meant to serve as a plot. Erin is glued to Dallas and they all ignore her. Nicole is sitting by herself and the red in her aura is almost gone, and now her aura looks pretty because that's all that matters. Yet another unrealistic beauty standard for women. Good thing we didn't have to really see any of Nicole's character development, and it largely was off screen though. I imagine by the next book we're going to be getting her POV as well. In Thanatos' class, Erin tries to make Shawnee look guilty for the stable fire, but Nicole explains it all away as she saw the wind blow over the lantern which caused the fire. Thanatos sends Erin and Dallas off on a field trip to get some decorations and organises for everyone else to be busy too. Let us not wait until the bell has released you. You, my special students, do not need to follow the rules so closely. That isn't even a lie. Chapter 22, Aurox. He thanks Nyx for helping him choose light over darkness. I thought he was definitely going to die in this book. I was getting death flags, you know. Then he falls asleep and dreams about fishing and sees his reflection, which is Heath, who then antagonizes him and says Aurox is borrowing his goodness from him. Bit rude, mate. Then he wakes up upset. Good one, Heath. Zoe. They meet up with everyone to start the rescue. Aurox is noticeably anxious. I understood and agreed that we all needed to keep a low profile. Hell, even Colona was wearing a long leather duster that, in the dark, actually mostly hid his giant wings. How big is that coat to be able to hide his wings? Is he wearing like a massively baggy coat? Does he look like 3 smaller people hiding themselves like one on top of the other inside a trench coat? I need imagery, people, because for me, this man absolutely looks like a public masturbator at this point. Zoe then almost cries over the fact with all their marks all covered up by makeup, they look too ordinary. Get a life. They all get dotted around the ground floor of the hotel with their candles to create a giant casting circle. Aphrodite looked at Shawnee. While Zoe and I are pretending to study, you can pretend to smoke and pretend Darius is your boyfriend. Again, pretend is an important word here. Keep in mind I can see you through the picture window and I will kill you dead if you pretend too well. Oh, P.S. Order the white chili soup. That way you don't have to pretend to eat. It's good. Thanks, Shawnee said. And even though you're more than kind of hateful, thanks for the loan of your warrior. Don't mention it. Seriously. Ever. She just says hateful things sometimes, but routinely does the morally right thing and thinks of stuff like giving Shawnee cigarettes to pretend to smoke with while she's at a table outside in the smoking area that Zoe doesn't bother thinking about or doing. They also all decide once Grandma is saved, they will remove the elemental help from Aurox so he can turn into a bull and fight his way away from Neferet because he's weaker in controlled boy form. Chapter 23, Neferet. Neferet is antagonizing Sylvia as she should. That's right. You are oh so special and beloved by your goddess. But wait, Neferet spoke with mock shock. If you really are so special and beloved, why are you here, being tormented by my children? Why does your goddess not save you? You name me special. I would not call myself that, sea skilly. Had you asked, I would have named myself valued by the great Earth Mother. No more. no less. If this is how your great Earth Mother treats a valued child who is crying out for her help, then may I suggest you consider changing goddesses? Neferet sipped on her blood-laced wine. She wasn't sure why she felt the need to goad the woman. Her pain and impending death should have been enough to satisfy the immortal, but they weren't. Neferet hated that Sylvia did not scream. She's spiteful and petty, but kind of has a point. I have not asked the great Earth Mother for help. I've only asked for her blessing, and that she has gifted me with tenfold. Her blessing. You're inside a cage of darkness that is killing you slowly and painfully. What are you, a Catholic saint? Shall I crucify you upside down and cut off your head? Neferet laughed her own joke, but even to her the sound was hollow. I need adulation and veneration. How can I reign as goddess without worshippers? That last part was very on the nose. Sylvia asked her why she killed the school professors all the way back in like book 2, book 3. Good God, this series is slow. 10 books with an in-canon timeline of like 2 months is crazy. Anyway, Neferet says that she wants total chaos in society so she can control the world. She's not doing that much of a good job of it though, really, when most of the chaos is largely happening within Tulsa. An incel on Reddit would have achieved more than her by now. Then Neferet says, I'm bored of this now, and manages to destroy most of Sylvia's bracelets so the tendrils can start attacking her. Colona. Everyone is in place for the circle casting, and then they cast the circle, and you can imagine how long it is because it's circling an entire building. Goes on for pages. He then worries Neferet will be able to feel the magic from the circle, and he tells Aurox to get a move on, and knows that Neferet will end up killing Aurox no matter what tonight. Then Arabus appears to offer help, and Colona is like, I'm the better warrior. Take the help, you old nonce. Arabus says darkness can't feed from the both of them, so let's both rescue Sylvia, but only if you leave all of the House of Knights forever. Then Colona is like, if Nyx finds out what you're doing, she's going to hate you, and Arabus storms off in a huff back to the other world. Aurox. He rushes to the penthouse and finds darkness feeding from Neferet to then attack Sylvia, so he's like, what up, I'm back, and she's like, ugh, you're late, and keeps throwing tendrils at him. She's like, you failed me, and he's like, nuh-uh, it was the circle and the meddling kids and their damn dog too. He manages to convince her he was too discombobulated to kill anyone, and she's like, yes, sounds about right, you cracked vessel, and she forgives him, and then she starts goading Sylvia again. Such a bully. Also, we've 20 pages and 3 chapters left of this. I don't know how PC Cast is going to do it. Grandma did not stay silent. Accepting love does not make you a fool. It makes you human. And that is exactly what you are not, Sea Skilly. You only glory in your victory over humanity because what you have become is a thing tainted and absolutely unlovable. Actually, I love Neferet, so there, get a stuffed grandma. So Neferet demands Aurox kills her. Chapter 24, Aurox. Neferet says break grandma's neck so Zoe can identify her, and then she slaps him to try to get the beast out, and Neferet is like, I don't sense the beast, but I do sense betrayal, and she's suddenly aware of spirit being with Aurox, so she's like, where's that bitch Zoe? Her words, not mine. And Aurox rips open the cage of darkness and frees grandma, but he gets attacked by darkness, and instead of running to the balcony as he told her to, she hangs back to help him as he starts turning into a bull against his will. Zoe. Aphrodite is drinking champagne while Zoe sweats and shakes, and then Spirit comes back and she realizes the elements have been cut off from Aurox. So, after checking Colona doesn't have Grandma, she rushes up with everyone to the penthouse just as Neferet commands Bull Aurox to kill Grandma, but Zoe commands the elements to stop him, and Neferet is like, nuh-uh. Then she turned to us. This time you're in my home and I do not invite any red fledglings or vampires within. Oh no, Stevie Ray screamed as she, Shaylin and Stark were lifted from their feet and hurled against the closed doors of the elevator so hard that Shaylin cried out. She and Stevie Ray dropped their candles. The circle was broken. Zoe! Stark shouted, sounding like he was in agony as his body kept being battered against the closed metal doors. Make it stop, Shaylin cried. I understood what had happened. Different rules applied to red vampires. The sun burned them. They could control humans' minds, and they could not enter a home without being invited. That is some bullshit. I do love it. Kind of feels like the sort of thing a high priestess, even a 17-year-old one, would know. Aphrodite certainly would have thought about it. Oh well. So Aphrodite opens the elevator doors so, the vampires can be in there so they aren't in pain, but Neferet keeps the elevator doors open so they have to force them to watch everyone die. Down 2 elements, the circle breaks and there's a struggle between Neferet's magic and Zoe's diminished circle magic. Meanwhile, darkness has barred access to the balcony, which Colona tries to rip up on the other side. One by one, they grow weaker and weaker, and then Zoe remembers about that stupid poem spell, so she grabs her seer stone and the poem and begins to recite it. The seer stone then turns into a big mirror that Zoe turns towards Neferet, and then Neferet starts flipping out. Amazed at the difference in her, I craned my neck around and looked at her reflection. It was a Neferet that I didn't know. She was young. She looked barely my age. She was also pretty, extremely pretty, even though her long green dress was torn, exposing the fact that someone had beaten her badly. Her face was perfect, it had not been touched, but her chest looked as though there were bite marks on her breasts. Her wrists were swollen and black with bruises. Trigger warning. SA. Most horrible of all was the blood that covered the inside of her thighs and dripped down her legs. No, Neferet sobbed. Not again. Not ever again. She covered her face with her hands, keening with despair. As the sea skilly wept brokenly, the tendrils of darkness began to dissolve. That escalated, didn't it? Then Neferet rushes at Zoe to kill her, but Aurox, who is part bull at this point, charges her, spears her in the chest with a horn, and they crash through the web of darkness and fall off the balcony. Chapter 25, Zoe. Zoe tells Colona to save Aurox, and he does, whilst Neferet lies smashed up on the pavement. The sea skilly seemed to dissolve. From within the folds of her blood-soaked clothes, thousands of black spiders exploded, skittering into the gutter and disappearing into the darkness. Then I looked away. I faced Thanatos. She's not dead. The High Priestess of Death answered me, though I hadn't framed the words as a question. I do not know. Thanatos looked pale and shaken. I have never seen, never even imagined, what we all just witnessed. Chase the spiders, blowtorch the spiders. Why are you all so lazy? Stark grabs the seer stone and tells Zoe to say the spell again, but points out Aurox, so she does, and everyone sees in the mirror that Aurox is Heath. It's actually a nice moment, so I won't bother sharing it. The end. For now. Is that a threat? Oh, the final chapter, present day Oklahoma, is a chapter from a novella from Dragon's Book. So that means there's no freaky time traveling shenanigans. I don't care. I'm going to cover all of the novellas, because there's like 4 of them, in one long future video. The end. For now. That is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for listening along. Thank you to everyone who has kept up with this series. There's a playlist so you can check out all of the other videos in this series if you really want. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Remember to use my code Alizee55 or scan the QR code on the screen to get 55% off of your first month. That's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Remember to like and subscribe. I make new videos whenever I feel like it. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Follow my second channel, my slop channel, whatever. Do what you want, mates. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.